in the fires of hope and prayer, with boundless faith in our destiny, we solemnly declare. Side by side we stand, islands of the blue Caribbean Sea, this our native land. We pledge our lives to thee. Here every creed and race find an equal place, and may God bless our nation. Here every creed and race find an equal place, and may God bless our nation.
Heavenly Father, we come before you at the start of this new day, giving thanks for life, for health, and the opportunity to serve through this station. We ask for your divine presence to guide us in all we do. Bless this broadcast, that it may be a source of inspiration, joy, and unity to all who tune in. Whether near or far, may our words uplift, our music heal, and our message bring light to those who need it most. We pray for our listeners, wherever they may be. Grant them strength for the day ahead, peace in their hearts, and success in all they put their hands to. Cover those traveling with your protection, and those at home with your comfort and provision. Lord, may everything we do bring honor to you and be a blessing to others. Guide our steps, bless our efforts, and let this station be a vessel of positivity and hope. In your name we pray. Amen.
Your voice, your soundtrack, your station. New Era TT Radio, NETT Radio.
Caught in a system cold, chasing shadows that take their soul. But the rhythm of hope is strong. Feel the beat, it guide us along. Plant the seed of change in the ground, and reap the fruits of love from this song. I'm sure we can rise from the shadows as we shine. Through the pain and the sorrows, leave the darkness behind. For the youths and the future, let the healing begin. The rhythm of we island, let love pull us in. So come from the dusk till dawn, as we rise up every morn. We'll fly through the skies like plane, all people will rise again. Hand in hand is how we'll start. Everyone can play their part. Man, woman and child come in, let the cleansing begin. Come on, cleanse them. Common man times real hard. Crime and murder driving we mad. And the youths them can't find no work, cause the system take them for joke. Let the positive fight control. We must not lose sight of our goal. In spite the stress and the strain, let us build our country again. I'm sure we can rise from the shadows as we shine. Through the pain and the sorrow, leave the darkness behind. For the youths and the future, let the healing begin. rhythm of the island, let love pull us in. So come from the dusk till dawn, as we rise up every morn. We'll fly through the skies like plane, our people will rise again. Hand in hand is how we'll start, everyone can play their part. Man, woman and child come in, let the cleansing begin. Politicians drive the nice car, while the poor man bite the finger. Oil money blow away like dust, the people don't know who to trust. But every crisis we will master, and rise to triumph from disaster. We will cast the evil away, we make the solemn pledge here today. I'm sure we can rise from the shadows as we shine. Through the pain and the sorrows, leave the darkness behind. Youths and the future, let the healing begin. In the rhythm of the island, let love pull us in. So come from the dusk till dawn, as we rise up every morn. We'll fly through the skies like plane, our people will rise again. Hand in hand is how we'll start, everyone can play their part. Man, woman and child come in, let the cleansing begin. Clean the heart. From the ghetto I born and grow, I learned to make joy from sorrow. Though my story was hardship and pain, I see the blessings falling like rain. And every time the setbacks would come, I keep the faith and weather the storm. With every step and toil I strive, just to keep my dreams alive. I'm sure we can rise from the shadows as we shine. Through the pain and the sorrows, leave the darkness behind. For the youths and the future, let the healing begin. In the rhythm of the island, let love pull us in. So come from the dusk till dawn, as we rise up every morn.
Rise up. It's the NETT Radio Breakfast Show, bringing you the energy, music and vibes to start your day right.
Everyone can play their part, man, woman and child come in, let the cleansing begin.
Let the cleansing begin, let the healing begin, let life begin.
Every morn, we'll fly through the skies like plane.
I tell you, that song has just grown on me within a short space of time. One of those memorable songs. And I'm sure that young man will go down in the history books as having a really fantastic nation-building song.
Rise up every morn, we'll fly through the skies.
Hey everybody, good morning to you wherever you may be coming in from. A very special good morning, and thank you so much for showing up. Thank you so much for being here. It is New Era TT Radio, NETT Radio, the heartbeat of the Caribbean, and yes, we are taking you above and beyond. So good morning to Trinidad, good morning to Tobago, our neighbors in the Caribbean. How are you guys doing?
Hand in hand is how we'll start, everyone can play their part.
And all our diaspora people, our family and friends are streaming all around the globe in the different time slots and zones. Thank you so much for making us your choice. Of course we know you got choices, but we're just happy that you make us your choice. Yeah.
Hand in hand is how we'll start, everyone can play their part.
Let me say much thanks as always to the Heavenly Father for bringing us together for another day. And everything that we do, dear God, let it be a blessing unto you. Sir Charles, that is me. Happy am I to be in the space as we welcome you to the Monday edition of The Breakfast Show.
Get up, it's the time to start the day. The Breakfast Show is here, we bring in the soca way. Yeah, 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 yeah. Yeah, 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 yeah. Wake up, it's a brand new dawn. The Breakfast Show got the vibes turned on. From Maracas Bay to the Savannah line, let's start the day in Caribbean prime. Good vibes rolling through the air. The Breakfast Show, energy everywhere. We talk, we laugh, we make you think. Grab Open your eyes, feel the light. Everything's gonna be alright. Good morning, we're wishing you a colorful day. Let the sunshine guide you on your way. Smile a little, let your worries fade. Good morning, may your heart feel light and free. So much joy in everything you see. Good morning, yeah, a beautiful day. Good morning.
Good morning. Such a beautiful day. Yeah. Hey, everybody. Good morning once again. And of course, welcome to the breakfast show. We're here on NETT TT Radio. So, Charles, that is me. And of course, yes, let me say good morning to my co-host, Richard, who will join us within this hour. And of course, Wendell, who is here always very early. So, Stephen, how are you doing? How was your weekend? Your microphone?
Oops, sorry, that was my fault. Morning to Charles. Good morning, Richard. Good morning, Trinidad and Tobago. And good morning, listeners and viewers all over the globe. It's Monday, June 22nd. It's the day after the summer solstice. And of course, yesterday was the longest day of the year.
It was?
Yeah, it's 21st of June is always the longest, and the 21st of December is always the shortest. So yesterday was the summer solstice. Of course, today is the birthday of my sister, the eldest in the family now, Wendy Stephen, retired teacher. She is celebrating her birthday today. Happy birthday, Wendy. Hope you have an absolutely fantastic day. My weekend, I didn't have a good weekend. Honestly, I didn't.
Yes.
No. Saturday. Well, let me see how quickly I could go through this story for folks, right? Because you see, Trinidad and Tobago, I give up. Honestly, I give up. I know I don't want to depress anybody this morning, but if I didn't miss radio for 2 days last week, trust me, I was gonna miss today. Over the weekend, well, Saturday to be precise, I got a message from Adande. Adande sent me this message on Crime News, right? About a businessman who was shot and killed at his home, right?
Mm-hmm.
That was it. And when I saw the name, I said, no, that can't be him. That must be somebody else with our next name. With the same name, you know? And then I studied who to call, because I didn't want to call his mom. I didn't want to call any of his family, because I didn't want to, in case it wasn't so, it wasn't him. And then I called Penelope Beckles Robinson, who I know knows him well, and he's been around Penny a lot. And she said, yes, Wendell, is true. I said, what? And then she said, yes, it was, but it wasn't a shooting. He was murdered. He was stabbed up. She said it was plenty blood all over it. I said, I got immediately depressed. And then I called his mom. And of course, the tears started to flow, because I'll give you a little backstory on this young man, right? I met him when I first entered politics. As a matter of fact, he was part of my campaign team. He would go everywhere with me. He was from East Port of Spain, and I didn't know him prior to that. He just joined the campaign. He and Wazim were the main people in my campaign, along with, of course, my then wife and children, right? And everywhere I went, Sterling went. Everywhere. Everything I did, Sterling was there with me. He was 19 or 18 at the time when we went. So he was like a younger brother to me. Well, almost like a big son. And I mean, I knew Sterling from working. He worked with me. He worked for me. He worked at Jenny's on the Boulevard for years, you understand, which encouraged us to start going there, and he was the type of person who everybody loved. He was very hardworking, very industrious, and he started to do his own business. He started to do transport. So every time I would have to go to the airport, Sterling would be the person to drop me to the airport. If he can't make it, well, that's when I would go to a TTRS. But that's what he did. He had a business, a transport business. All my friends became Sterling friends. So whenever Sterling traveled abroad, he stayed with my friends. You know, so much so, I mean, sometimes he would tell me, hey, you going all the time, carry me with you now. And it so happened we made a trip together, but guess what it was? To attend a funeral. A funeral of the mother of our close friends, Deborah Pantin, Colette, right? We went to attend that funeral together. And Sterling kept in touch with me all the time. Sterling listened to this program every single morning, Sir Charles. He would not miss this program. When we were on the Power Breakfast show and this show. So much so the other day, you remember there was a program where I was saying Peter Ram won Soca Monarch.
Yes.
Sterling messaged me that morning right away. He said, no, it's Biggie Irie. And he sent me all the details and so on. He was an ardent fan of this show. Never missed this show. And as I said, we would be in touch with one another from time to time, you know. So when I saw the name, I said, not Sterling, man. You know, who would murder Sterling? You know, what is that about? Sterling don't do anybody anything. I remember we used to go out, we used to fet together. He was him and I went to fet a time. And I refused to go up to the front of the fet. He said, nah, let me go now, man. And when I went up to the front of the fet, they snatched my chain, Sir Charles. And as the person snatched my chain off my neck, I snatched the person hand. And Sterling and Wazim dragged that guy through the fet, straight to the police. You understand? So we were that close. Sterling, he might have had a temper sometimes, but Sterling was a hard-working, honest, diligent young man. You understand? Who, as I said, became friends to all my friends. All my family knew him, so much so when my first wife died, Sterling was one of the people who bore her casket. You understand? So when I got that news on Saturday,
okay. We lost you or your thoughts?
Yeah,
yeah, I know it's a tough one to talk about.
No, it was hard, Sir Charles. It's more than hard. And after going home and talking to his mother and his brother, he has a brother. He took care of all his family. He took care of his family, his mother, and you know they found out he died, Sir Charles, because he was home. His mother says she spoke to him that night. He was home with some friends watching football, you know, and she reminded him, you have to take me by the doctor that morning. So that was Friday night, right? Friday, he was also celebrating the anniversary of the death of his brother. He died that same night. Somebody murdered him that same day on the anniversary of the death of his brother. And she said, I'm calling in the morning, Sterling not answered. She tell the other son, listen, something wrong. Sterling, don't forget when he had to take me to the doctor. And she has a heart problem.
Right.
So Sterling was supposed to pick her up that morning to carry her to the doctor. And she said, no, go up, man. The brother said, nah, mommy, he must be lying late and sleeping. Gave him a break. She said, no, something is not right.
Yeah, she's feeling something is not right.
Yeah, her gut feeling, because he was extremely protective of his mother and his brother. You understand? His siblings on the whole. And when they went up there, that is when, and they didn't want to tell her, you know, because they know that she is not well. Yeah. But they had to. I mean, she said it was blood all over the place. You know? So somebody in Sterling's space, somebody who knew Sterling, somebody who probably called himself a friend of Sterling, turned against Sterling that night. Trust me. And I hope and pray that the police could solve this murder, because it has to be somebody. It has to be somebody who was there.
Right.
The house wasn't broken into. You understand?
Yeah,
It's
that's
craziest news I get in a long time. A long time.
yeah. I
Crazy. I gave up on Trinidad. I sorry, you know. I sorry. I had enough, Trinidad. You broke me. You finally broke me Saturday. You finally broke me Saturday.
Yeah, this whole where the crime and the violence is running. You know, it's like you're not just dealing with criminals who are correct criminals doing things. You know, you don't know where it will come from. The society has taken on a tone that you just don't know where it will come from. It's coming from inside, outside. You know, we have become a very violent people. And the first thing that anytime anything goes wrong, somebody wants to take somebody's life.
Yeah, it's nothing else but come down to jealousy, envy, whatever it was, whatever circumstances precipitated that person reaching the stage to murder, stealing. I don't know. I don't know what to say. I'm not one of those to wish bad on people, but I hope you know what you've done. I hope you recognize what you've done, and you destroyed a young man who was so industrious. My phone never stopped after that, and I couldn't talk to people. I really was in no condition to talk to people after I got that news, you know?
Yeah, I can imagine. Morning, Richard.
Hi, good morning, guys. Good morning to our listeners and viewers in whatever time zone, and thanks for joining us this morning. You're talking about Sterling Francois' murder.
Yes.
Yeah. I mean, that was tragic news over the weekend. I mean, it blew social media to a certain extent away. It was like, what? You know, it's crazy, bizarre, horrific, and another, you know, a horrible mark against Trinidad and Tobago in terms of what the society has become.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah, it's scary sometimes, and then it's, you know, it's like, you know, why would people reach to that stage that they feel they can do that to another human being? You know, it's, I don't know, it's mind-boggling. It's anyway.
It's inexplicable, you know. And Sterling was everything to his family. He took care of his family. You understand? He took care of his entire family. And I know for a fact, you know, like how you see like how Alyssa sticking her neck out for Kaya. I am gonna stick my neck out for Sterling.
And will it be solved? Will anybody be held accountable? You know, it's unknown, even though they seem to have some information from what the news reports indicated, you know, because they had the description of the vehicle that left, because a vehicle came to meet the perpetrator, allegedly, from what the news reports were. And so hopefully there is some footage somewhere.
Yes, there is, because the person took his DVR and so on, but apparently someone else got it from another camera. You understand?
Oh, yeah.
So it didn't come from his property, you know?
But another property captured it.
Yeah.
Oh, and so definitely somebody who definitely knew the whole runnings of the thing. Look.
Well, yeah, because they just had to deal with the folks who were there first that night, who were there watching football with him. Because his mother said that when she spoke to him earlier in the night, she was hearing voices, including her female voices. So there were people watching the football there. You know?
It's a heavy one.
Yeah.
It's a heavy one.
Destroyed my weekend. As I say, I was just hoping it wasn't Sterling. I was reading about, and it turned out to be him. Because Sterling would have been listening to the show this morning.
I don't know how to move from here. Guys, let me see if I can do the good news and come back. Because we have a party today.
Who is the man standing completely still for all 90 minutes of Congo's matches? His name is Michel Kuka Imboladinga. But in Congo, they call him Lumumba Veya, Lumumba lives. And he's not just a fan anymore. He's part of DR Congo's official World Cup delegation. Here's why. At every Congo match, while thousands of fans are jumping, singing and losing their minds, Michel climbs onto a platform, raises one arm and turns himself into a statue, not for attention, for Patrice Lumumba. Lumumba was Congo's first prime minister after independence, a national hero who was assassinated in 1961. So Michel copies the famous Lumumba statue in Kinshasa. The suit, the glasses, the raised hand, the frozen stare, and he trains for this. On non-match days, he practices standing still for 30 to 40 minutes. Because during matches, his job is simple. Do not move. He believes his stillness gives Congo emotional strength. And at AFCON, he became impossible to ignore. Every camera found him, every fan knew him. And then DR Congo did something it hadn't done in 52 years. It qualified for the World Cup, for the first time since 1974, when the country played as Zaire. But here's the wild part. Congo's players reportedly didn't want to go to the World Cup without him. So they pushed for Michel to be included in the official delegation. The president approved it. The federation backed it. And suddenly, the man in the stands became part of the team's World Cup mission. That matters even more because many Congolese fans were blocked from travelling because of health restrictions tied to Ebola. So for millions back home, Michel isn't just watching the World Cup. He's representing them. Every country has superfans. Some paint their faces, some bang drums. Some never sit down. But Congo has a man who stands still for 90 minutes because he believes silence can stop goals. History can give strength, and one fan can carry an entire nation into the World Cup.
Strange traditions, huh? Strange traditions. Wow.
Superstitions, basically, in terms of, any game, sporting games have all kind of superstitions that people will do. You don't sit on that seat. I have to sit down in this seat when a match playing, and it's a whole Timmy. I have to drink a beer at this point because that's when I'll be sure they will get a goal in the second half. They have all kind of things, superstitions that people go through with sports.
Yeah. So. But yesterday was another fantastic football game. We had Spain going up against Saudi Arabia. In favor, they scored 4 goals.
Spain, South Africa.
Yesterday,
South Africa, not Saudi. Is it Saudi Arabia or South Africa?
I think Saudi Arabia. It's India.
Okay, all right.
Yeah.
Maybe you're correct.
And then a very controversial game between Uruguay and Cape Verde that ended up in a 2-2 draw, 2-all draw.
I was happy for Cape Verde.
They showed great strength. They understand that they had to come back twice.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
And
they actually scored first, actually.
Yeah. And then but I heard like the anyway, I'm gonna leave that because I heard like there seems to be had been a lot of racial tensions in between that game.
That is Uruguay.
That they felt it coming through. Egypt also won 3-1 against New Zealand, and Belgium 0, Iran 0 yesterday. So that was what transpired yesterday, and just to give you a little idea of what's taking place today. Today is a big one, because we have Argentina is playing today, guys.
They're playing. Who they playing? Algeria. I wish they lost. I want them to lose, but I know that probably won't happen.
Yeah, boy. So
Yeah, some good matches again today too.
Yeah.
You know, of course, Senegal is also playing today, and so too is where are my predictions for today?
Right.
I'll tell you what my predictions are today.
France going up against Iraq.
Argentina plays Austria. Sorry, I said Algeria is Austria. France plays Iraq. Norway plays Senegal, and Jordan plays Algeria. Those are the 4 games today. So Argentina is playing Austria. So I'm back in Austria. France, Iraq are back in France.
Yeah.
Norway, Senegal are back in Senegal. And Jordan, Algeria, well, if that match draw good. All right? What is Stephen sending here? Stephen Mao, that is. So Charles, I don't know if I sent him the wrong link again.
Oh Lord.
I hope not.
Oh Lord, because I ain't seen the guy.
I think I sent him the correct link. Where is he?
Yeah.
I'm sure I sent him the correct link. He must be. You know what I mean? I'm gonna send it over. All right, let's greet some folks in the chat now. Let's greet some folks in the chat. All right. Valerie Mendoza came in at 12:04. Eunice Dublin, Robert Allen also says good morning. Felix Kazu, Odell Guy, Beefy Smith, Ava Smith says blessed rising. Maria Celia, Pamela O'Connor, Kenny in Harlem, Deborah Noel Surrett, Margaret Thomas, Erica Charles, Diane Payne, Mrs. R, Manuela Peters, Bobby Desi, Marlon Motley from North Valsain, Prabha Ramdial, Apollinaus, Arlene Lewis, Cheryl Johnson, Yvette Scipio, Carol Guevara, Anthony Tinto, Empress Reyes Lal, Gavin Frank, Nadia Stephen, Stephanie Santana, Joyce Phillip, Kurt Hope in Nashville, Tennessee, Nicola McNichols, Pearl Cordis, Pearl and Stacey Anades, Robert Taylor, Ria Sampson, Ingrid from Tucson said, it's okay, thank you, Ingrid. Suzanne Jessup sending belated Father's Day greetings. So too does Ingrid. Empress Leslal sends a hug. Andre Reno, Felix Kozo says yesterday was his eldest daughter's Malaika birthday. I think it's Malaika or is it Malkia? I'm not sure. Birthday. Cheryl Maraj, happy belated Father's Day from Nicola. Carla Hercules says good morning. Debbie Modest also says good morning. I'll skip the condolences, folks, but thank you very much for sending them, right? Lenny's Beauty Culture, David McCarthy, Michael Cadet, Sankofa, CJ from New York, Kurt Hope, Gabriel Phillip. I use those same words to somebody, yeah, that same Saturday, Gabriel, because plenty of people started calling me because they just couldn't believe the news. Julia Samantha, Caribbean Girl, Kim Govaya, Mrs. R, Argentina all the way, Jason Samuel, they play in Austria. Thanks, I corrected it. Slick Money Grip says good morning. Dean Allen, Sherwin White, and Trinidad and Tobago. All right?
That's all the people we have. Okay. All right, so let me say good morning to Mr. Bidi of the Impact Powder Magazine, to Kent in Navantel, Mr. Augustine up early this morning, Brenda in Pinal, Archbishop Ashton Kala coming out of Canada, Frank in Aruka. Also, let me say good morning on the WhatsApp, coming in with Zena and the Powder Puff Girls, Captain Ron in Orlando, Mr. Beeps in Pity Valley, CJ in New York, Rena Boodle Jennings, also down in the West, Peter Wilson, St. James people, Edison Punnett, good morning to you. And of course, good morning to you, Doc. Good to have you here. All right. All right, well, let's take that break very quickly. And when we come back, we'll hook up with our guests. We have a packed day for you guys today.
Yeah, I see you backstage already. So as soon as we come back, we'll start that interview.
Beautiful.
Yeah, he did say he got it, right?
All aboard!
Calling all you NETT Radio listeners and fans. It's time to pack your cooler, gather your crews. Join us for NETT Radio Halloween Cooler Crew in red, white, and black. On board the luxurious Island Royalty, Saturday, 15th of August, boarding at 7 p.m. from Hardcuts, Shagaramas. We sail at 8 p.m. sharp. Enjoy great music all night long from your favorite NETT DJs: Sir Charles, CJ, Mr. Flavor, Doc International, RJ, and Fluffman.
Tell you you's a big dancer. Come show
Early
them who's
bird
a big
tickets
dancer.
are just $200, after $250. Get your tickets now at Crosby in St. James, Rumba, St. James, Bobby's Bar in Crep, Fats International in Arima, K Square Fashions at C3 Center, West Mall, and Eastgate Small, and all NETT DJs. No glass bottles allowed. Bring your coolers, bring your crews, and let's celebrate together. NETT Radio Halloween Cooler Crew, Saturday, August the 15th, aboard the Island Royalty. For information, call 638-2609 or 497-7173. Halloween on the sea.
Scandal in Citrus is back in Port of Spain, and yep, we're finally at Queen's Hall for 2 nights only, on Saturday the 27th of June at 8:30 p.m. and Sunday the 28th at 6:30 p.m. Tickets available at the usual outlets and online. But you can now buy tickets on our website, rsrrproductions.com. We think you'll like it. And at the Queen's Hall box office, 12 noon to 6 p.m. daily. Scandal in Citrus. We're at Queen's Hall.
Scandal in Citrus.
Are you taking care of your sexual health and overall well-being? At Total Image and Dr. Raj Adult Boutique, we believe your confidence, wellness, and intimacy matter. Visit us at our convenient locations: 10 Carmody Street, St. Augustine, Edinburgh, Chaguanas; Shops of Daybay, 95 Circular Road, Vistabella; Docks Ranch Lightpole 51, SS Aaron Road, Penal; and Metro Hotel, Suite 1, Number 2, Knoll Street North, Couva. From relaxing massage services to professional guidance on sexual wellness, we are here to support you every step of the way. Consult with renowned sexologist, Dr. Raj Ramnanan, for expert advice tailored to your needs. Take the first step toward a healthier, more confident you. Call 285-9739 or 645-4543 to book your appointment today. Total Image and Dr. Raj Adult Boutique, where wellness meets confidence.
What do we all want for Trinidad and Tobago? Safer communities, greater opportunities, and a better future. Join Denise Deming every Tuesday at 11 a.m. on NETT Radio for Common Ground TNT. Each week, respected guests tackle the issues affecting our nation, from crime and education to healthcare, the economy, and good governance. Common Ground TNT, finding solutions through conversation. Tuesdays at 11 a.m. on NETT Radio, NETT Radio.
Trinidad and Tobago, get ready! Haaland of the Ultimate DJ Shane invite you to the Ride of the Year, Reggae Ride 26.
I met a girl this morning. She was love at first sight.
On Saturday, June 27, on board the Harbour Master, represent your colors with a touch of gold, green, red, and white, featuring DJ Damien, Ever Slick, DJ Junior, Gaylan, and the Ultimate DJ Shane. Boarding 11 p.m. and sailing at 12 midnight sharp. Tickets are only $250 and are available at all Agats Nuts House locations, City Furniture stores nationwide, and online at islandetickets.com. Call or WhatsApp 333-7601 for more information and tickets. Walk with your coolers. No oversized coolers and no glass bottles allowed. The Reggae Ride 26 is proudly sponsored by Agats Nuts House, City Furniture, Tocopia Hotel and Lounge, Cricket Lab Academy, Cafe Barista, Endura Malt, NFM, Rios Waxing Parlor, and Langston Roach Industries. One boat, one vibe, one love. The Reggae Ride 26.
S&H Rumbox, 137 Western Main Road, St. James, for all your retail and wholesale needs for alcohol and non-alcoholic beverages. Call us at 686-0599 or visit us at 137 Western Main Road, St. James. S&H Rumbox, drinking out of the box.
Okay, so we are back.
And we do have our guest in studio with us. Well, I'm saying in studio, but online with us. He's an attorney at law, Stephen Moore. Good morning, Mr. Moore.
Good morning, good morning.
Am I pronouncing your name correct?
That is correct.
Stephen Moore, right.
Yes.
Thanks for joining us. Of course, you're here with Richard Raghubar Singh, Sir Charles, and myself.
I see that. Good morning.
Yes. And now you wrote an interesting article over the weekend after the arrest of Alyssa Phillip and her mother at that Labor Day march, which we completely skipped over this morning because we were having you as a guest. But that's where my depression started this weekend, of course, with that issue of them being arrested at the Labor Day march.
Yes.
But you mentioned something specific with that charge of resisting arrest. Explain that for us.
Well, resisting arrest it lends itself to have a particular image when you hear it. So when you hear someone resisting arrest, you believe that they are fighting with the police and they are trying to run away, etc. The reality is that resisting arrest can come from a shrug of a shoulder or pulling away your hand or anything of this sort, just to provide any sort of resistance at all to the police placing you into the police vehicle or moving you from one place to the other. Now, the charge of resisting arrest is one that is usually followed up with other charges. Of course, you have to be arrested first to resist. So it's, interestingly enough, when you are arrested for a public order offense, such as disorderly behavior carries a penalty of $200 maximum at the magistrate's court. Resisting arrest, however, can run you in the tens of thousands of dollars at the High Court. And what it is an aggravating offense. It's an offense that aggravates an initial situation and it places you within the realm of the High Court rather than a summary offense that is typically dealt with at the magistrate's court. What that means is that once you're arrested, they have to take you and put you before a master of the High Court. When you're before the master of the High Court, it's only then that the DPP representative, being the police prosecutor or state prosecutor, would say, okay, we prefer this to be dealt with in the magistrate's court, and then it's sent back down there. But what it does as well is it creates a situation where everything from how long you can be kept in custody, whether you can access bail immediately or not, all of these things are affected by the type of charge that you're arrested, the type of offense you're arrested for. And resisting arrest is called an indictable offense. It's an either way offense, meaning it can be dealt with in the magistrate's court as well. But it starts off as an indictable offense, meaning that it's on this more serious level of offenses. Now, that is by design. It never used to be that situation. It always used to be one where it's a summary offense and it can be dealt with the other offenses. But owing to some police lobbying, it was elevated and the fines, etc., were elevated a short while ago, actually, just a few years ago, by legislation or amendment to the legislation, the Police Service Act.
Stephen Moore, a lot of it, I know you said that resisting arrest, often, in people's minds, it's that the person resisted violently and stuff like that. But for a lot of Trinidadians and Tobagonians, I don't think they think that, I think when they see resisting arrest, they see it as an irritant charge that the police usually just concoct because there are no other serious charges, especially when it's accompanied by disorderly behavior or obscene language. Their favorite is obscene language. They love to go with obscene language and resisting arrest. And people just see it as nuisance charges that the police always go to by default in terms of arresting somebody and bringing them before the court rather than having any real charges to bring.
You're not wrong.
A lot of people think that way.
Yeah. And they would be right if they thought that way. The reality is that resisting arrest is there to protect police officers and to create the offense of resisting them violently. The issue is that that word violently is
broadly interpreted.
It's subject to interpretation. So, a police officer just simply grabbing your hand or grabbing your arm, as anyone out there knows, it's the natural instinct when somebody grabs you out of the blue is to tense up. They will charge you for resisting arrest. And that's the issue. The issue is that there seems to be no yardstick that one can measure a natural reaction, or the most natural reaction in the world, really, to suddenly being grabbed by a police officer and resisting arrest.
Something else interesting thing that you said in this article, Mr. Moore, is that the system removes the ability for someone to immediately cross-charge a police officer easily. Explain that.
All right. So the AJIPA system, which is the new legal system that we have in place, where formerly people who are either familiar or adjacently familiar with the court system. What would have happened before is that when somebody's arrested, they were taken in person to the magistrate's court, whether it's a summary offense or indictable one, and the charge will be read by the magistrate. And if it's indictable, they will not call upon you to plead, and you will go through a process at the magistrate's court called a preliminary inquiry. Now, the physical process of taking someone through the magistrate's court means that you are in contact with court staff, you're in contact with a justice of the peace, you're in contact with persons who, if you wanted to, for instance, if you got into a fight and the person on the other side of that fight is a police officer, or you were assaulted, or you were beaten during the course of your time in custody, you could easily say, I want to file and press a charge against that police officer. And what would happen then is that you would be able to not only have charges read against you, but you as a citizen could privately charge that police officer while it's at the magistrate's court. And that's called a cross charge. Now, because you're no longer at the magistrate's court and you're going straight to the high court, and that you're sitting in a police station somewhere, you're not going to an actual physical court, you don't have that luxury anymore. And on top of that, because they take you to the high court, the process of laying a charge at the high court has become one that is removed from the general public. It's one that it's difficult. It's nigh impossible to do when you're in custody. And then when you do file the charge, you have no control over that charge, because if it's an indictable offense, for instance, assault or any of those matters, you can't choose yourself whether you wanted to go back to the magistrate's court. Only the DPP can. Right. So it's removed private justice really from the arena altogether, and has placed it solely into the hands of the police officers who have to lay those charges. Ultimately, later on, you can go by an attorney and do it, but that's not what justice is. You shouldn't have to pay. You shouldn't have to, while we You shouldn't have to go to an attorney and say, hey, I want to cross-charge this person for something that happened 2 weeks ago. I just got bail and I don't like the way I was dealt with. Do I have a case? No, you should be able to, at the time, press your charges, lay your charges.
Yeah. So police officers may very well be aware of this, which is why things are escalated the way they escalate now in terms of arresting someone.
They're aware, but it's also by design. So it's that design went far beyond the police officers. They know that they were going to charge you with resisting arrest anyway, whether you were in the magistrate's court or not, right? It's simply a more serious charge that they can lay. The issue is, now that they've decided to do this, now that it's a given that they are going to get those charges, how are you going to, place that scale of justice on equal keel? How are you going to have a system where that you have access to the same system that the police just have a login and a password and get in to lay a charge? That is the issue. The regular person doesn't have that access. Yeah. And furthermore, if it wasn't for our court system, if it wasn't for Justice Govind, you get arrested on Friday, marching in Faizabad, and you will have to wait until Monday to get bail before you when you go before a master, because they refused to place any form of jurisdiction in the act itself with a justice of the peace or anybody who gave you bail before. Yeah. So the issue is to hold you inside, to keep you in custody. And the current law did not allow for persons to be released on bail, even for these frivolous charges, because of that resisting arrest charge being indictable. Mm-hmm. And what they've done now is that, and this is why we have to look at our court system and say, okay, there is some kind of pressure release, because Madam Justice Govind delivered a decision that allowed for Justice of the Peace to give bail at the police station. Right. So a magistrate can't, by the way, but a Justice of the Peace can, acting as a magistrate. So it's a bit ridiculous, but at the same time, that's the only protection we have.
Right. Yeah. Is it that the legislation needs some revisiting in terms of amendment? I mean, oftentimes when people become attorney generals, like they become, even though they're attorneys, career attorneys, throughout most of their lives, they seem to forget that there are irritant laws on the books. And I know, and this program in its previous iteration, we have raised it with several people who have been aspirational to the Attorney General's office and sometimes have become Attorney Generals. And we've raised the issue of irritant laws that we see as irritant laws that need to be amended so that the society is a little bit more fair against the considerable power of the state. But once you sit in that seat, apparently that goes out the window. I don't know. It just does.
Well, the truth is that once you sit in a political seat, politics takes hold. You remove your lawyer's hat, even though you don't wear them, and you are now a politician. You're a politician first and a lawyer second. So, yeah. And lots of the persons who have become a...
Did we lose him there?
Looks like an internet issue. Hopefully it
he's frozen.
Recalibrates.
Yeah. All right. Our apologies. It seems that Mr. Ma on his end, he is frozen.
Yeah, he got some obvious internet issues.
Yeah.
So maybe he's trying to reboot it and come back in. But I think he's there. Let's try joining him again. Yeah.
Is he coming back in?
Well, I'm seeing him still in the studio, but he's come out, so you can't rejoin him. Oh look, there he is. Okay. No, I think he logged out and he's logging back in. So we just wait for him to come back in terms of that discussion. Of course, we can't discuss the case itself because it's sub judice at this point. But it certainly garnered a lot of commentary on social media over the weekend. And certainly
Do I have to change my poll then? Because I was going to poll it.
And the trade union movement also had a press conference yesterday and said that they have consulted a senior counsel in terms of taking the matter to court in what transpired at the Labor Day celebrations in Faizabad. So obviously there's a lot of pushback. And you know what was interesting about that TTPS press release? That is the longest press release I've ever seen from the TTPS.
Yes.
I didn't know that they were capable of going beyond 500 words. I was astonished. I said, oh my God, did they use AI to write this? And that's when my brain went. There was like, obviously they used ChatGPT or somebody to write this, because is anybody in the TTPS capable of writing something that crosses 1,000 words? And because
the head of communication
is the longest press release I have ever seen from the TTPS. I don't know, maybe there was a longer press release before. I can't remember it.
Sorry about that, gentlemen. I'm back.
Yeah, we lost you there for a couple minutes.
You mentioned the Attorney General twice, and you lose connection altogether. But, what happens is that I was saying that they're politicians first. So what happens is every week you have a meeting of the National Security Council, and one of the key persons in that National Security Council is a police officer, the Commissioner of Police. And he's going to be telling you, we need more power, we need more power, we need more power. And every Attorney General, there's been no Attorney General in the last 30 years that has removed power from the police. You look in our history, there's been no Attorney General since the 70s that has removed power from the police. Everything has been to increase the power of the police, and there's been no counterbalance for the protection of the citizens from that power. So what you have is, when we speak about nuisance laws, these are the nuisance laws that allow them to arrest you and throw you in a cell. Obscene language is one, which is punishable by $200. There's no reason why that should be an arrestable offense to throw you in a cell, when if it is that you wanted to keep it on the books, you might as well just write a ticket. Further, the offenses such as insulting language, which means that you don't even have to curse at the police. You just have to trigger their sensibilities.
Like call them your dotish or something. So
they're quite sensitive, you know.
Yes.
You tell them they don't know what they're doing, and then they prove it to you. What happens is that these offenses create the system where persons fear. There's a fear of the police. There's a fear of oh, you know what? I can't get agitated in this situation. You would have seen a few weeks ago in that video with the police officer firing a shot inadvertently during a traffic altercation. I mean, regardless of whether the traffic altercation was in the right or wrong, a woman, a man deciding to, no, not really deciding to, reacting to a shot being fired and using expletive during the course of that means that you're going to be arrested and placed before the court is ridiculous.
Yes.
Because obscene language is one aspect of it, but they're public order and for the protection of the peace. One can say that firing a shot in public defeats the whole purpose of the peace. The peace is no longer present. People are firing gunshots. You're a human being. There's a natural response to that. If it is that you cannot have a human or natural response because the other person standing there is a police officer, not only which is part of the police, part of the party that defeated or disrupted the peace in the first place, then you see exactly where the law lies.
But I did say at the time that a magistrate is going to stoop at this when they come before him, because he didn't curse at them. He cursed because of the shot being fired. He didn't curse them.
The charge isn't cursing at them. The charge is using obscene language to the annoyance of a person on the street.
Yeah.
Right? But the annoyance came before that. Yes. And whilst the magistrate might stoop, the fact is that they still have to go through a trial to deal with it.
Yes.
You know,
yes.
if nobody's just going to look at that video and say, okay, well, that's it. You know, and anybody who, unless you want to protect your criminal record, which I will always advise people to do, now you have to go through a whole year-long process of trial to deal with whether I cursed or not. And then who determined what, you know, this is the issue. And you have, before they even reach the magistrate, you still have to go to a master of the High Court and plead your case before a master to get bail.
Yeah. But I mean, as Judy said, maybe we shouldn't be discussing it so much. But
no, we're not discussing the facts of the matter, you know, we're discussing the process of it. I'm not going to say what I believe about the facts itself.
You did already, actually.
You know, we are where we are. I think I have an opinion on the charge itself, but I don't have an opinion on the facts of the matter. So that is where we are.
Yeah, I mean, of course, the state of emergency continues, which gives the police a certain amount of unbridled power, and the state machinery in terms of the government obviously is very much in love with state of emergencies, because since they have been elected, they've basically been in the state of emergency. So obviously they like that tool. What's your take on the use of that tool as a crime-fighting tool?
Well, it's not a crime-fighting tool. And we can see that. Crime has continued. Crime has ballooned. But the reality is that the state of emergency is a constitutional measure that is used to deal with a specific threat. It's supposed to be able to hone the state's resources, being the police and the defense force, into the tip of a spear to deal with a specific threat. What happens when you use it arbitrarily or in an ad hoc manner is exactly what's happening now. Everybody's getting a preventive detention order. Everybody's going up in the prison. Nobody's getting charged. The reality is that at the end of that state of emergency, everybody's back on the street. And the reason is that if, you know, we still have to go back to law and order, we still have to go back to, you know, due process. We still have to go back to a position where if the police don't have evidence to charge you, that you should not be charged. And if, when we return to that, we have persons now who would have been in custody from the start of the second state of emergency. So now they're going to be in custody for 6 months of their life with no charges coming from it. You're creating monsters. You're creating a situation where persons lose their livelihood, they lose their respect, they lose their standing, either whether it's deserved or not. And there's no test of it. There's no test as to whether it's deserved. There's no test as to what's happening. All that's happening now is that you have one person signing orders, and who basically is like a rubber stamp. Once the police want to keep you, they're going to keep you. And the law hasn't changed. There's no reason to keep somebody for 12 days before you consider whether you're going to send them up in the jail with no charge. When you do that and you interrogating somebody over that course of the 12 days, the law hasn't changed. You know, you can't create an oppressive situation and try to extract confessions and extract, you know, things from people based on the threat of jail down the road, you know. It has to be, or jail without charges. There has to be something solid. There has to be, something that we can process through the criminal courts to deal with criminals. When it is that, you know.
So ultimately, you find it concerning, obviously, that and I know we're coming close to the end of the interview. I know, obviously, you find it concerning that the state of emergency has now taken the Trinidad and Tobago Police Service into another level of how they operate in terms of infringing citizens' rights, and it's now increasing in terms of possible abuse. Would it be correct to say that?
Yes.
Right. would that not concern the civilian government?
No, well, the civilian government. You see, we are of the opinion that when it is that we're speaking about the civilian government, the fact is that under a state of emergency, the person who has the power is the Minister of National Security, and he is the Minister of National Security is executive power. And so when we talk about a civilian government, the state of emergency has quite clearly removed power from removed that separation of power, so to speak, and has placed power into the Minister of Homeland Security now, who acts and is operating as the executive controller of the TTPS and TTDF. So when, for instance, the preventive detention orders have to be signed by him, the release has to be signed by him, everything else has to come from either him or the Commissioner of Police. He is delivering orders.
I know, but the government is the one who extends or does not extend it.
But isn't that same that same minister is part of that civilian government and is taking dictates from cabinet. So they will recommend the state of emergency to continue as long as they have the power to do so, because they have the power. Nobody asks to curtail their own power, especially when it comes to something like national security, where everybody believes that they have the answers and that they have to do what they have to do. Yeah. You empower the police to operate without warrant and without any kind of control over what they do, and you end up in an uncontrollable situation. So I can't speak about a separation between the civilian government and the police, because right now the police is being essentially controlled by executive power. And until we remove executive power from the police and we create that separation, because right now the police is being essentially from the limbs of the state, then it's right for abuse. Create that separation.
Well, that's where we're going to have to end it this morning, Stephen Moore, and thank you so much for joining us. I'm sure we'll have you back at another time. I think once you're willing, of course, to discuss issues, because Trinidad and Tobago is a place that always has issues to discuss.
That's true. That's true.
So thank you so much for joining this morning. We appreciate your insight.
No problem.
Thank you, Mr. Moore. Yeah. All right, we are a little late for the news.
Yeah. So we go straight to the news.
Yeah.
The news you need, the clarity you deserve. Local, regional, global. This is NETT Radio News Now.
This is News Now on NETT Radio and Guile TV. I am Derek McMillan. Thank you for joining us. Social activist Alyssa Phillip and her mother, Camille Carrasquero, have been charged following their arrest during Friday's Labor Day march in Faizabad. Phillip faces charges of leading an unlawful march, disorderly behavior, and resisting arrest, while Carrasquero is charged with participating in an unlawful march, obstructing a police officer, and resisting arrest. The pair have been leading protests over the police-involved shooting that claimed the life of Joshua Samaru, and are already before the courts on separate charges linked to an earlier demonstration. The police service says the activists were not part of the authorized Labor Day procession and refused instructions to disperse, insisting officers acted lawfully to protect public safety and uphold the permit conditions governing the annual event. The National Trade Union Center of Trinidad and Tobago and the Joint Trade Union Movement have condemned what they describe as excessive police action during Labor Day celebrations in Faizabad. In a joint statement, the unions criticized the heavy police presence and the arrest of activist Alyssa Phillip and her mother, Camille Carrasquero. NATUC General Secretary Michael Aniset claimed he witnessed officers roughing up the two women and pushing aside his teenage daughter during the arrests. The organization said Labor Day should remain a peaceful space for workers to express their views, adding that while police must maintain public order, they must also respect citizens' constitutional rights and avoid the use of intimidation or excessive force. Hundreds of residents in Princestown were left without electricity after vandals cut high-voltage power cables, damaging a 12,000-volt circuit and disrupting service to about 450 customers. The outage affected communities including Fairfield, Craignish, Indian Walk, Buen Intento, Mathilda, and New Grant, before crews from the Trinidad and Tobago Electricity Commission restored power after hours of emergency repairs. Member of Parliament Aina Ali appealed for information on those responsible, while Tech warned that tampering with electrical infrastructure can cause serious injury or death. The incident follows another act of vandalism earlier this month at the Brecon Castle substation, where a suspect suffered severe burns after coming into contact with high-voltage equipment. People's National Movement Chairman Marvin Gonzalez has defended the 2018 closure of the Petrotrin refinery, calling it a painful but necessary decision to protect Trinidad and Tobago's economy. Responding to criticism from trade union leaders during Friday's Labor Day rally, Gonzalez said the refinery had become a major financial burden and restructuring was the only viable option. He argued that the move paved the way for the profitability of Heritage Petroleum and noted that former refinery workers received more than $3 billion in separation benefits. Gonzalez also claimed the current government has overseen the loss of an estimated 60,000 jobs, contrasting its record with that of the PNM. Police Commissioner Alistair Guevara says 290 police officers are currently on suspension as the Trinidad and Tobago Police Service continues efforts to address misconduct within its ranks. He said, while allegations against officers often receive widespread public attention, many people are unaware that disciplinary and criminal action is taken against those accused of wrongdoing. Guevara also defended the TTPS's handling of controversial incidents, saying current laws prevent the release of body camera footage while cases are before the courts. He said he supports discussions on changing the law to allow certain footage to be made public, but stressed any reform would require legislative changes and wider consultation. U.S. and Iranian negotiators are meeting in Switzerland in an effort to advance an interim agreement aimed at ending months of conflict. Talks involving senior officials from both countries, along with Pakistani and Qatari mediators, are focusing on a ceasefire in Lebanon, the future of Iran's nuclear program, and keeping the Strait of Hormuz open, a key global shipping route. U.S. Vice President J.D. Vance said the region is at a turning point, while Iran insists any final agreement must include an end to fighting involving Hezbollah. Meanwhile, President Donald Trump has warned Iran against supporting further attacks by the militant group, saying the U.S. would respond forcefully if violence escalates. And that is Net Radio News at this time.
That was News Now. Stay informed with New Era TT Radio. Net Radio.
Your mid-morning just got better. Join Sir Charles for the mid-morning mix and mingle, where good music, real talk, health, and family matters come together, and your voice is heard. Whether you're at work, on the go, or just taking a break, this is the perfect mix to keep you engaged, informed, and entertained. The mid-morning mix and mingle, weekdays, 9 a.m. to 12 noon on New Era TT Radio, Net Radio.
Vibes, fresh energy. This is the Net Radio Breakfast Show.
Na 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 na, oh, I am from a great nation where legends made plenty strides, instilling peace, love, and pride. Victory never came likely, 'cause they looked down at the sides, thinking we will not survive. But sure as day follows night, I shall stand and fight. I will not be bended, folded, nor cracked. I giving me all and not holding back, 'cause I bleed in red, white, and black. Hey, this love it inside of me. I bleed in red, white, and black. I hold in hand for eternity. I bleed in red, white, and black. This passion but I embrace them all the time, working for what is mine. Now it's all up to me to fulfill destiny. The champion in me will not go off track, and if they cut me now, they will see that bleeding red, white, and black. Hey, this love fit inside of me. Bleeding red, white, and black. I'm holding on to eternity. Bleeding red, white, and black. This passion will never die. Bleeding red, white, and black. If they say so, tell them they lie. Bleeding red, white, and black to me, my beauty, my strength, and the white signals my purest intent. The red is vitality and my drive. My belief is what brings me to realize. So as day follows night, I shall stand and fight. Yeah, I will not be bended, folded, nor cracked. No, sir. I giving me all and not holding back, 'cause I bleeding red, white, and black. This love fit inside of me. Bleeding red, white, and black. I'm holding on to eternity. Bleeding red, white, and black. This passion will never die. Bleeding red, white, and black. If they say so, tell them they lie. Bleeding red, white, and black. I'm bleeding red, white, and black. I'm bleeding, yes, I'm bleeding. Yeah. Bleeding red, white, and black. Life is to live. I say live your passion.
You're locked into NETT Radio Breakfast Show. Fueling your day with the best music and new talk.
I tell you, you love Trinidad and Tobago. You're bleeding red, white, and black. Yeah. Good morning to you once again, and of course, welcome to the second hour of the Breakfast Show. We're here on New Era TT Radio, NETT Radio. Good morning to everybody tuning in. Good morning to Gael Caribbean TV also. Yeah, of course, the morning show, Wendell Stephen, Richard Ragobar singing, and of course, your story, Sir Charles. We keep your company Monday to Friday from 6 a.m. Yeah? Just to let you know that when we come off of the social media feeds, and of course, Gael TV at around 9 o'clock, you can join us on netradiott.com. It's netradiott.com, so you can, listen to all the great programming that we have for you throughout the day. It doesn't end after 9 o'clock. We continue all day and every day. Also, don't forget to follow, like, subscribe to all of our social media handles and pages. Yeah, NETT Radio Trinidad. If you are on Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, or TikTok, like, subscribe, and follow all of our social media channels. Right? It's NETT Radio Trinidad, NETT Radio Trinidad on all of your streaming devices. Also, so whether you're on TuneIn, Radio Garden, Online Radio Box, Simple Radio. You can just give your smart devices and your Google devices that command play NETT Radio Trinidad, and you'll be able to hear us, okay? So our poll is up. It came up a little late this morning. So we're asking you, do you agree with the arrest of Alyssa Phillips and her mother on Labor Day? If you're voting yes, you're voting 1. If you're voting no, you're voting 2. And we'll tell you how you voted in a little bit, right? So stay with us here this morning on the Breakfast Show. Of course, remember, inside of this hour also, we are talking with Professor Rhoda Reddock, social activist. We are talking all manner of things in between there. Race and ethnicity, all that has been happening. So look out for that coming up after the break also.
Scandal in Citrus is back in Port of Spain, and yep, we're finally at Queen's Hall for 2 nights only on Saturday the 27th of June at 8:30 p.m. and Sunday the 28th at 6:30 p.m. Tickets available at the usual outlets and online. You can now buy tickets on our website, rsrrproductions.com. We think you'll like it. And at the Queen's Hall box office, 12 noon to 6 p.m. daily. Scandal in Citrus. We're at Queen's Hall.
Scandal in Citrus.
Are you taking care of your sexual health and overall well-being? At Total Image and Dr. Raj Adult Boutique, we believe your confidence, wellness, and intimacy matter. Visit us at our convenient locations: 10 Carmody Street, St. Augustine, Edinburgh, Chaguanas, Shops of Daybay, 95 Circular Road, Vistabella, Docks Ranch Lightpole 51, SS Aaron Road, Penal, and Metro Hotel, Suite 1, Number 2, Knoll Street North, Couva. From relaxing massage services to professional guidance on sexual wellness, we are here to support you every step of the way. Consult with renowned sexologist, Dr. Raj Ramnanan, for expert advice tailored to your needs. Take the first step toward a healthier, more confident you. Call 285-9739 or 645-4543 to book your appointment today. Total Image and Dr. Raj Adult Boutique, where wellness meets confidence.
Advertise with us on New Era TT Radio, the fastest growing streaming platform for talk in Trinidad and Tobago. Audio and video ads welcome. Elevate your brand with us. Connect with us at newerattradio@yahoo.com or call us at 299-5156. Now what are you waiting for?
S&H Rumbox, 137 Western Main Road, St. James, for all your retail and wholesale needs for alcohol and non-alcoholic beverages. Call us at 686-0599 or visit us at 137 Western Main Road, St. James. S&H Rumbox, drinking out of the box.
Calling all you NETT Radio listeners and fans. It's time to pack your cooler, gather your crews. Join us for NETT Radio's Halloween Cooler Crew in red, white, and black. On board the luxurious Island Royalty, Saturday, 15th of August, boarding at 7 p.m. from Hardcuts, Shagaramas. We sail at 8 p.m. sharp. Enjoy great music all night long from your favorite NETT DJs: Sir Charles, CJ, Mr. Flavor, Doc International, RJ, and Fluffman.
Tell you you's a big dancer. Come show
Early bird tickets are just $200, after $250. Get your tickets now at Crosby in St. James, Rumbox, St. James, Bobby's Bar in Kure, Fats International in Arima, Kiss Square Fashions at C3 Center, West Mall, and Eastgate Small, and all NETT DJs. No glass bottles allowed. Bring your coolers, bring your crews, and let's celebrate together. NETT Radio, Halloween Cooler Crew, Saturday, August the 15th, aboard the Island Royalty. For information, call 638-2609 or 497-7173. Halloween on the scene.
Okay, everybody, and of course, welcome back to the breakfast show right here on NETT Radio and, of course, Gael Caribbean TV. Right, and very interesting conversation going on there before the break with the attorney. So it's so easy just to get arrested in this place, right? You don't have to fight with the police, you know. You just have to, when they put the hand on you, move it. You're resisting arrest.
Shrug. You just had a shrug.
Yeah.
And look at, and I mean, if anybody who saw that video of that incident at Labor Day, where was the resistance? I didn't see it. Maybe it happened, but I didn't see it.
Well, I know we have Professor Reddock already waiting backstage, so maybe we need to get on with the results of the morning poll as quickly as possible.
All right. Well, our poll this morning, we didn't read it before the news, but of course it was up during the news time, and a lot of people voted on it. Is, do you agree with the arrest of Alyssa Phillip and her mother on Labor Day? If you're voting yes, you vote 1. If you're voting no, you vote 2. I only saw 2s up on the chat. I don't know if somebody actually agree with that. Anyway, our
that's in people's choice. You mentioned people for making the choice.
I tell you, I give up on Trinidad. I can't say it any different. I used to be saying it all the time, but you see, after what happened over this weekend, when I saw what happened to these 2 ladies on Labor Day and then what happened to Sterling on Saturday, I'm done. It'll take me a long while before I get back to normal. Richard will probably have a big role to play in that, but it'll take me a long time, trust me. And it depressed me, no end. But our poll results is 4% of you said yes and 96% said no. 4% said yes, 96% said no. All right? Somebody said there's 1-1. I didn't see it. I would love to hear from that person how they agreed with that. Ron DeSantis Jr. I would love to hear from you, Ron DeSantis Jr., why you agreed with that arrest, with those arrests. I would love to hear that. But not today. I might lash out at you. So don't call today. Call Friday. Call Friday when I'm in a better mood. To tell me stupidness. Because I want to hear no stupidness right now.
Well, then if you don't want to hear what they have to say.
No, you can call Friday. I don't deny people the right, you know. But if you call today, he ain't gonna like what I have to tell him.
You say you disagree with what
Of course I disagree with it.
Yes. Yeah.
Of course I disagree with it, but that's his opinion. I would love to hear how he agrees with it.
Yeah.
You know, maybe he will never be able to convince me.
Well, he probably don't want to convince you either. He just shared his thoughts and his views.
He must be being an agent provocateur this morning. Maybe that is what.
All right, anyhow, let's get into our Let's Talk segment.
So good morning, Professor Reddock, and thanks for joining us this morning on The Breakfast Show.
Good morning, and thanks for having me.
Yeah, we appreciate you taking the time and to speak with us. We appreciate your insight, obviously. So Professor Reddock, I suppose we could start off with, I know you would have a great historical background in terms of the labor movement in Trinidad and Tobago, and certainly the role that women would have played in it. So I don't know if we could start there in terms of contextualizing the role that women would have played in the labor movement and why it was so important and monumental.
Yes, thanks a lot. And before I do that, I have to make my plug for the teaching of Trinidad and Tobago history in schools, because I believe this is one of the few countries in the world that doesn't teach its own history in any serious way in our school system. And I think this accounts for a lot of our misunderstandings of ourselves. But let's move back to the question. Well, the labor movement has had a very rich history, but it's important to note that it was not until after the 1937 disturbances that the trade unions, as we know them today, existed. However, there were labor organizations and a labor movement before that. One of the first, of course, was the Trinidad Working Men's Association, started by Cipriani. And then later, there were a number of other organizations which were not officially unions in that way. So for example, the way Cipriani's organization worked is that you had a number of different groups, And what was interesting about the labor movement at that time is that it wasn't limited to wage workers. It included domestic workers. In fact, Cipriani's Labor Working Men's Association had 3 domestic workers sections. They had fisher folk sections. Of course, they had workers, paid workers, but it was a range of working people. And after 1938, that was shifted to only wage workers. So I think that's something important. And women were involved from the very beginning of this. In fact, in addition to the women who struggled, who were part of the labor movement, women were in the forefront of labor struggles. For example, the 1919 waterfront strike. Women were very important. And if you look at the historical records, they speak about women and children. So the women would take their children with them when they went protesting on the docks or where else. Similarly, in 1935, in the sugar plantation, you had women heavily involved in those disturbances, protesting the conditions, and these were predominantly Indian plantation and estate workers. In fact, at one time, the police insisted that the women had to remove all their jewelry, suggesting, that clarifying that these were Indian women in Central and South Trinidad protesting on the plantations in 1935. And then in 1937, you had what we celebrate in June 19th. And similarly, if you look at the newspapers, they speak of bands of women driving through town. Many of them were the cooks and the domestics who worked on in the oil fields, in the plantation homes of the white, the oil field company workers leadership. So I think that there's a rich history. And if we go a little outside of the labor movement, in 1901, the water riots, women were also central to that, and many of them died during those water riots. So there's a very rich tradition of women's labor movement struggle and social movement struggle in this country.
You know what is interesting? Because you had the 1937 Butler riots, you had the water riots in terms of Trinidad and Tobago's history, and of course, Buzz Butler at that point would have been considered by some to have been a troublemaker. I'm sure Elma Francois, to a certain degree, would have had that experience too when she spoke up, because she was part of the Trinidad Working Men's Association, I believe, and she ran, I think, she kind of was a counterpoint to Cipriani. She felt Cipriani was too soft, for that's one of a better word, if I remember the vague history I remember of it. So you always had these strong women as part of it. So when do labor leaders or people fighting for justice in terms of workers' rights or whatever they believe in, and the society, some in the society considering them troublemakers, and how does history navigate that line?
Well, that's always a problem, because many of the people who were considered troublemakers who went to prison, I mean, Butler was arrested, actually, I think in 1937. By the time those disturbances were happening, he was already in hiding. And then subsequently, he was arrested and kept on Nelson Island for a very long time. And then after the disturbances, Butler, Elma Francois, and Jim Barrett, who was a member of Elma Francois' organization, were all tried for sedition. But Elma Francois is the only one who was freed, and she defended herself in a very historic speech. So that, yes, they were charged with sedition, they were imprisoned, they were definitely seen as troublemakers, and that is a trend that has continued, and thank goodness for history, which is what often rehabilitates them. Sometimes they get posthumous awards, but I think it's very important to understand how individuals and groups of individuals make changes from which we all benefit today, and also changes that we can, and gains that we can lose today if we don't defend what we gained in the past.
Yeah. As a historian, do you see history? Is it true that old adage that history repeats itself?
Yes, unfortunately. History repeats itself, but not in exactly the same way. And that is why students of history can actually sometimes tell the future. Like in my own work, looking at those disturbances in the 1938, which came after the Great Depression, and also you see similar things in other parts of the world. Those disturbances were so widespread throughout the entire region, but they were also taking place just before World War II. In fact, World War II in many ways was also the result of this Great Depression and the global dissatisfaction with inequality and the quality of life of many people, especially poor and working people. So after the war, there was a period of contriteness. That was the time when the United Nations was established to ensure that there was no more war. That is the time when Britain, its government changed from one that felt that, for example, the colonies were of no interest to them except to extract wealth. There was a new colonial development and welfare policy where the colonial state, for the first time in the 1940s, after the Moyne Commission report, decided that it was necessary to be more developmental in its approach to the colonies. So those disturbances contributed, along with other global trends, to a shift in British colonial policy. And it was after World War II, that we first got public housing, proper public health. We got an expansion of public education. Many persons were sent to Britain to study sociology, social welfare, social statistics. For the first time, there was a recognition of the importance of the welfare of the poor and the vulnerable, and even women, although we could be critical of their approach. So that came out of the whole period of the World War II, the disturbances that happened in our region, and the shift in global thinking. That's when you had the Labour Party in Britain and social democracy in the Scandinavian countries. So one of the reasons why that change happened, and also why World War happened, was the rise of fascism in the with Hitler. And that fascism in Germany emerged because ordinary working people felt that they were not getting the standard of living that they deserved. And what Hitler did was to provide them with an enemy. And that's what always happens. When you find disaffection, inequality, then leaders have to find an enemy where these working people can blame. And then that is how you have the emergence of fascism and extreme situations, because then these people are then voted into power and then can use that power to exert or even to remove to exert power over others. I just want to say that I feel that is a situation we have had, where you had these inequalities that have led to people voting for governments that don't necessarily. I'm not speaking about Trinidad and Tobago, I'm speaking about globally, about for states that no longer support the vulnerable and the poor in society.
Well, it seems to be so many examples that are happening on planet Earth today. Does the state of the planet today, and I mean Trinidad and Tobago is part of that, of course, in terms of context, because a lot of times when we discuss Trinidad and Tobago today on this program, it seems as if courtesy, manners, empathy, a lot of those things seem to be out the window, not only in Trinidad and Tobago, but from a global perspective, they have become diminished. And as a historian, does the state of the world today, and I mean, even the UK, of course, is going through its own, since Brexit, the UK has never really settled. And you have Keir Starmer resigning this morning. and I think Andy Burnham are probably going to take over as the new Prime Minister of the UK. Is it a reflection in your mind as a historian? Does the current state of the world and today upset you, depress you? Does it, or are you just do you just look at it from a intellectual perspective?
No, it upsets me because it means we didn't learn the lessons of the past. So what we're going through now, it's almost like what has happened in the 1930s. And even the dismantling of the United Nations, which emerged as a mechanism to provide peace and equity and development, is also part of a very important shift that happened at the end of the 20th century. So we are seeing the impact of it. But as I said, we really need to study it, not simply what's happening in Trinidad and Tobago, as you pointed out. And we tend to discuss our situation like if somehow we are unique, like we are not part of the world. But we have to look at what's happening here in that global and historical context, so that we are very much part of the developments that are happening globally. And it is depressing, especially for people who have fought for change. For example, we've had a lot of change in terms of women's rights, workers' rights, anti-racist struggles, and we see them being lost and being turned back in some parts of the world. So it is depressing. And the temptation is to give up and to accept the depression. But I think the solution is to try to understand the processes that are taking place and to see where you or others can intervene to make sure that we don't lose everything and that we have an opportunity to change what the process that's taking place at this time.
Any recommendations in that area, Professor Reddock? Because you know me, I feel totally hopeless sometimes. I don't know that we will be able to fix this in our lifetime, maybe in some other lifetime. But I feel sometimes totally hopeless. What are some of the suggestions you could recommend?
Well, actually, I feel disappointed, but I also see hope. And I think the fact that so many young people, have decided to come out publicly, state things, organizing. I think that what we have to do is to support that. We need public education programs, to explain people about global economic systems, political systems, about social change and the losses that we have made in our country in terms of social support systems which were put in place during World War, right after World War II. So I think that one of the reasons we are depressed is because we don't really understand what's happening. And this is my other big problem, because our education system has not really provided us with the tools to understand these things. So I think that for me, what is absolutely necessary now is public education on broad issues so that we can really understand where we are, why we are here, and what we need to do.
But discussing race has always been a very sensitive subject. You understand? I know a lot of people stay far from it simply because they don't want to offend one another. I mean, outside of the politics, we see people mixing, we see people mingling, but once the politics gets in it, we are so divided.
Well, that's a good segue, because again, our situation here in Trinidad and Tobago, to a lesser extent Guyana and Suriname, is a result of our colonial history, in that we had indigenous people here. We still have indigenous people here, although the majority of our population knows nothing or very little about them, although there's new recent research that could really help in that regard. But colonialism brought together different groups of peoples for economic reasons and for extraction of wealth. They didn't really care about the people they brought. And therefore, there was nothing done to create a society where these people would live well. They were just labor. And then when colonialism ended, then you have all these countries in the world, Sri Lanka, Malaysia, Fiji, South Africa, Guyana, Trinidad and Tobago, with these populations who were just dumped here, who have to figure it out. In addition, the colonials also set down ideologies of race, of color, of ethnicity that we then absorbed or integrated with our own other ideas. And these things have continued to affect our societies. So rather than challenge the colonial ideas and hold the colonialists accountable, we basically fight each other. And what is interesting is that even where you did not have so-called differential ethnic groups, they created differences. Most of us can't tell the difference between a Hutu and a, what's the other one in Rwanda? But yet, we can't tell the difference. Yet they killed, so many of their fellow citizens because of these feelings of what I have called in my work competent victimhoods. Because in these post-colonial contexts, we all feel that we are the victim. And because we focus so much on our own victimhood, we are unable to understand each other and therefore unable to carve out a proper strategy to deal with it. And of course, not having any diversity education in schools, not having any anti-racist or human rights education in schools, not having political parties that have a clue about these issues that they are very much part of, hasn't helped us really. So I think that part of our situation is that we are wallowing in ignorance, and many of us are just following what our parents told us, what the society told us, what we hear in the grapevine, but we don't have any other tools to understand why we feel these tensions, why we feel these ways, and sometimes they're legitimate feelings, but we need to have a way of understanding them if we are to address them. And I think as a society, we need to have our education system is not really serving us well. It's not producing those things you were talking about, Richard. It's not producing citizens that know how to be polite, who understand other people's human rights, who respect others, who have feelings of empathy and understanding, who do not discriminate, who recognize that discrimination is wrong, who believe in equality and justice. Our education system has not provided that. And what's worse, in the last 3 decades, there's been a revival of individualistic ideologies and individualistic economies. So therefore, many younger generation, not all, because there's a lot of young persons who I'm very proud of, there's an idea that success is individual. And for your individual success, somebody else has to suffer. There's not a view that we can all benefit and gain. There's very much an individualist ethos. And I think that is not going to take us very far.
Yeah, I use the word selfishness. We've got a lot of selfish people now.
Yeah, but David once described it well. He said, "A for apple, B for bat, and C for yourself."
So, has there been at any point in time, even if it's a post World War, post our independence, have you ever felt that we were on the right track and we were getting it, or we were going where we are supposed to go? And if we were, when did we lose it, and how did we get here?
Well, I can't say, I have very high standards, so I can't say that we were fully on the right track, but I think we were certainly in a better place than we are now. Those of us who are older, would recognize times when first of all, our education system was not just an exam mill. where we learned things like history and geography. We had field trips. I certainly did what we called in that time health science, which has really helped me throughout my life, where education was for learning and not just for papers and subjects. So that is a major change. But I think that the end of if we look at Trinidad and Tobago, the end of the 20th century, when in 1986 we went to the IMF, that was a major change. That was a shift when, for example, our social welfare systems were destroyed. A lot of our state responsibility for the vulnerable was shifted to NGOs. That is when the whole ethos of individualism came in. And also, Richard, you would remember a time when theater flourished in this country. A variety of theater at all levels, going from Best Village right up to whatever. Right now we are kind of skating in terms of the arts and culture. This society has produced so many brilliant thinkers, brilliant artists, world-renowned. And first of all, we don't know, most of our society doesn't know about them, but we have not continued in those lines. For example, recently there was this young man who got a scholarship to dance in China, and it was a Dialan scholarship. And Dialan was a Trinidadian who developed dance, who became very important in the development of modern dance in China. And this Chinese scholarship is to honor her. And every so often, persons from Trinidad go there on these scholarships. But what do we know? Where have we lost this capacity? And also, I just want to say one more thing, that in the 1930s, this was even before World War II and all of that, Trinidad and Tobago had hundreds of literary and debating societies. These were groups of people who never went to university, probably didn't go to high school, but just had a sound primary school education, who would meet to read, to discuss, to recite poetry, and to debate. And these happened in little villages, even all over. There were East Indian literary and debating societies. How come we have got so lacking in depth?
Yeah. Obviously, but come back to the education system ultimately. And when you mentioned, at the start of this interview, that we don't do Trinidad and Tobago history as part of our curriculum in any in-depth way. And I was wondering, and you said we're one of the few countries that don't do it. And I was wondering, and my comparison immediately went to Jamaica. That's where my brain went. And, Jamaica is so passionate about the Jamaican identity and its heroes. And Trinidad and Tobago, I remember seeing an interview with Wendy Fitzwilliam, and she was talking about in Trinidad and Tobago, a lot of the times we bring down our heroes. We bring down the people who are successful. We look for ways to tear them down, when in other countries they lift them up. And I'm wondering whether all of that is an interconnect with regard to how we learn about who we are, the diversity of who we are, and the strength of who we are, and how we have not put that into the education system sufficiently so that the brand of who we are as Trinidad and Tobago is clearer and more substantive to us.
Yeah. Just to add to that, Richard, because in a lot of the instances too, we bring that, even the race into that too, who we have as heroes, who we consider as heroes, even that we have gone down the race road.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think in Trinidad and Tobago, as I have written, we see everything through those lenses. We can't help it. That's how we interpret almost everything. But I think that we have to be given more data, more understanding, more analysis, so that even as we do that, we we have a deeper and more comprehensive and sophisticated understanding. And coming back to your point, Richard, you know, I remember I had a friend, a North American friend. She came, I invited her to visit Trinidad and Tobago. And when she was leaving, she said, you know, we couldn't find Trinidad and Tobago food in the restaurants. And I said, no. And it suddenly dawned on me that you can tell me where I can get Trinidad and Tobago food. Maybe longer you have Veni Marge, and maybe now you have one or two. But Trinidad and Tobago food in this society is street food. In the airport, you have to go in the food court to get Trinidad and Tobago food, not in the center of the airport. When you arrive, you get the Jamaican food right in the airport.
Oh, yes.
So I think that there are lots of things wrong with us. Lots of things about our belief or lack of belief in ourselves. And actually the lack of belief in ourselves also it also relates to a lack of fear that our others can see that we are nothing. In other words, so both groups are struggling for recognition in whatever ways. They're struggling because of these feelings of lack. But they are also fearful that they'll be exposed by the other for what they lack.
But what is our food, Professor, at the end of the day? Because even that we argue about, you know. Jamaica, you know what their food is, you know. They're not afraid to tell you rice and peas with oxtail and jerk. They're not afraid to tell you that, and they market that at every possible opportunity. What is our food?
But we know
even that we quarrel about.
You know, but I mean, we know what is our food. Just pick up the Naparima cookbook or anyone, and you see what is our food. We know what is our food. Our food is we know what is our food. But the thing is, it's very hard to find it if you want to have an elegant dinner somewhere. Maybe at Christmas you'll get some pigeon peas and some pastels. But you know, but generally, we don't really value ourselves. But I think it's because we don't really know ourselves.
Professor, is all of this part of or because of leadership then and now who have not really set that tone and keep that divide so that they can either get into or stay in power?
I think that our leadership is like us. You know, they really don't know better, but they want power. And if there's a structure that allows them to gain power, they use it because that's basically what they're about, gaining and staying in power. But I think it's for us to tell them what we want. It's for us to demand better. It's for us to change the narrative, because politicians basically want us to vote for them, but we have to put up some standards that go beyond our personal needs. We need larger philosophical points to put forward. And I think, for example, the deterioration of the physical space, the physical environment, the lack of planning, where people can just build whatever they want, wherever they want, even taking up the pavements, and, you know, the quality of our public space, the ugliness of our environment. There's so many things that we merrily jump through on Carnival Monday and Tuesday. I don't know if we don't realize the quality of the streets that we are jumping through. But that is not an issue. As long as the grass is cut, we seem to be happy.
Yeah. But is it also when we talk leadership, and I might have mentioned the political leadership, but even on the street level, where the activism and the voice of the people on the ground if the people don't have a strong voice there to guide them, as for example, like coming through civil rights movements and stuff, if we don't have that, has there ever been, or would a people be able to unite on their own?
I mean, I think we've had some very important historical periods. The 1930s was a very important historical period, and that leadership had to do with the colonial inequalities, the suffering of the poor working people, and the poor working people did what they had to do. So many died, many were imprisoned or charged for sedition, but the whole society benefited from that. In fact, it was after the Moyne Commission report and all those things that the University of the West Indies emerged as an idea and eventually came into being, along with many the other changes I mentioned. So I think definitely that we need to have a more informed and educated population. And education does not mean papers and subjects. We need a more informed and educated population. And we need a population that's provided with the skills for us to live in a diverse society. So sometimes when I hear the politicians speak, I think they believe that they're saying something that's just and correct and meaningful. But they're also victims of our system. And they have to be told that it's not enough, that we require more. And we have to really get out of the track, because one thing I want to say, if nothing else, that the societies that have been divided like this, if there ever comes a time where you have violence or ethnic violence, those countries never recover, ever, ever. The things that we take for granted now, our easy conviviality, liming by people for Eid, marrying each other with Shazam. Despite that, if there's any ethnic violence or war, it becomes, that history can never be erased. And we've seen it in Bosnia and Herzegovina, we've seen it to some extent in Guyana, we've seen it in other countries. So we have to guard against that happening. We cannot make foolish statements that can result in destruction and further deterioration in our society. We have to be very conscious of what we say and what we do, and do the research so that what we are saying is not just volatile, but has some grounding.
Go to the rooftop and shout that.
In this way, yeah.
Professor, thank you so much for sharing your time with us this morning. Really appreciate it.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, we value your insights tremendously, and it was a very interesting conversation this morning. Thank you so much, Professor Reddock.
Thank
you.
Okay.
Thank you.
Wow. Very sobering conversation.
That last statement she made, she had to go to the rooftop and shout that one, because we are not going to come back from it.
Yeah, they said that
we are going to regret it. Some of the things people are saying, we are going to regret it. Tremendous.
Preserve what we have. People are going for the 8 o'clock news, and we will be back. So stay with us.
The news you need, the clarity you deserve. Local, regional, global. This is NETT Radio News Now.
This is News Now on NETT Radio and Guile TV. I am Derek McMillan. Thank you for joining us. Social activist Alyssa Phillip and her mother, Camille Carrasquero, have been charged following their arrest during Friday's Labor Day march in Faizabad. Phillip faces charges of leading an unlawful march, disorderly behavior, and resisting arrest, while Carrasquero is charged with participating in an unlawful march, obstructing a police officer, and resisting arrest. The pair have been leading protests over the police-involved shooting that claimed the life of Joshua Samaru, and are already before the courts on separate charges linked to an earlier demonstration. The police service says the activists were not part of the authorized Labor Day procession and refused instructions to disperse, insisting officers acted lawfully to protect public safety and uphold the permit conditions governing the annual event. The National Trade Union Center of Trinidad and Tobago and the Joint Trade Union Movement have condemned what they describe as excessive police action during Labor Day celebrations in Faizabad. In a joint statement, the unions criticized the heavy police presence and the arrest of activist Alyssa Phillip and her mother, Camille Carrasquero. NATUC General Secretary Michael Anisette claimed he witnessed officers roughing up the two women and pushing aside his teenage daughter during the arrests. The organization said Labor Day should remain a peaceful space for workers to express their views, adding that while police must maintain public order, they must also respect citizens' constitutional rights and avoid the use of intimidation or excessive force. Hundreds of residents in Princestown were left without electricity after vandals cut high-voltage power cables, damaging a 12,000-volt circuit and disrupting service to about 450 customers. The outage affected communities including Fairfield, Craignish, Indian Walk, Buen Intento, Mathilda, and New Grant, before crews from the Trinidad and Tobago Electricity Commission restored power after hours of emergency repairs. Member of Parliament Aina Ali appealed for information on those responsible, while Tech warned that tampering with electrical infrastructure can cause serious injury or death. The incident follows another act of vandalism earlier this month at the Brecon Castle substation, where a suspect suffered severe burns after coming into contact with high-voltage equipment. People's National Movement Chairman Marvin Gonzalez has defended the 2018 closure of the Petrotrin refinery, calling it a painful but necessary decision to protect Trinidad and Tobago's economy. Responding to criticism from trade union leaders during Friday's Labor Day rally, Gonzalez said the refinery had become a major financial burden and restructuring was the only viable option. He argued that the move paved the way for the profitability of Heritage Petroleum and noted that former refinery workers received more than $3 billion in separation benefits. Gonzalez also claimed the current government has overseen the loss of an estimated 60,000 jobs, contrasting its record with that of the PNM. Police Commissioner Alistair Guevara says 290 police officers are currently on suspension as the Trinidad and Tobago Police Service continues efforts to address misconduct within its ranks. He said while allegations against officers often receive widespread public attention, many people are unaware that disciplinary and criminal action is taken against those accused of wrongdoing. Guevara also defended the TTPS's handling of controversial incidents, saying current laws prevent the release of body camera footage while cases are before the courts. He said he supports discussions on changing the law to allow certain footage to be made public, but stressed any reform would require legislative changes and wider consultation. U.S. and Iranian negotiators are meeting in Switzerland in an effort to advance an interim agreement aimed at ending months of conflict. Talks involving senior officials from both countries, along with Pakistani and Qatari mediators, are focusing on a ceasefire in Lebanon, the future of Iran's nuclear program, and keeping the Strait of Hormuz open, a key global shipping route. U.S. Vice President J.D. Vance said the region is at a turning point, while Iran insists any final agreement must include an end to fighting involving Hezbollah. Meanwhile, President Donald Trump has warned Iran against supporting further attacks by the militant group, saying the U.S. would respond forcefully if violence escalates. And that is NETT Radio News at this time.
That was News Now. Stay informed with New Era TT Radio. NETT Radio.
Welcome to Inside the Net on New Era TT Radio, NETT Radio. Our daily insights as we count down the journey to FIFA World Cup 2026. Here is today's insight.
The FIFA World Cup is defined by its leaders, captains who inspire and guide their nations to glory. In 1970, Carlos Alberto led the legendary Brazilian team to victory, becoming an icon of skill and dominance. In 1986, Diego Maradona's leadership and individual brilliance carried Argentina to the pinnacle of world football. In 1998, Didier Deschamps united a nation as he lifted France's first World Cup trophy. In 2010, the composure of Iker Casillas anchored Spain during their historic maiden triumph. And in 2014, Philipp Lahm's tactical intelligence guided Germany to a memorable victory. As 2026 approaches, new leaders will emerge to join this elite list. This has been Inside the Net. Join us next time as we continue the road to the FIFA World Cup 2026.
You've been listening to Inside the Net as we count down the journey to FIFA World Cup 2026 on New Era TT Radio, NETT Radio.
S&H Rumbox, 137 Western Main Road, St. James, for all your retail and wholesale needs for alcohol and non-alcoholic beverages. Call us at 686-0599 or visit us at 137 Western Main Road, St. James. S&H Rumbox, drinking out of the box. Scandal in Citrus is back in Port of Spain, and yep, we're finally at Queen's Hall for 2 nights only on Saturday the 27th of June at 8:30 p.m. and Sunday the 28th at 6:30 p.m. Tickets available at the usual outlets and online. You can now buy tickets on our website, rsrrproductions.com. We think you'll like it. And at the Queen's Hall box office, 12 noon to 6 p.m. daily. Scandal in Citrus. We're at Queen's Hall.
Scandal in Citrus.
Flavor Entertainment Services, your one-stop premium entertainment service provider. We offer top-tier, best-in-class karaoke and DJ services for your private events, sports bars and lounge. Let us help make your birthday parties, weddings, anniversaries, and corporate special events memorable and special. Call us now at 462-2029. We provide more than just music. We create memories that last.
What do we all want for Trinidad and Tobago? Safer communities, greater opportunities, and a better future. Join Denise Deming every Tuesday at 11 a.m. on NETT Radio for Common Ground TNT. Each week, respected guests tackle the issues affecting our nation, from crime and education to healthcare, the economy, and good governance. Common Ground TNT, finding solutions through conversation. Tuesdays at 11 a.m. on NETT Radio, NETT Radio.
Advertise with us on New Era TT Radio, the fastest growing streaming platform for talk in Trinidad and Tobago. Audio and video ads welcome. Elevate your brand with us. Connect with us at newerattradio@yahoo.com or call us at 299-5156. Now what are you waiting for?
All aboard! Calling all you NETT Radio listeners and fans. It's time to pack your cooler, gather your crews. Join us on NETT Radio, Halloween, Cooler Crew in red, white and black. On board the luxurious Island Royalty, Saturday, 15th of August, boarding at 7 p.m. from Hardcuts, Shagaramas. We sail at 8 p.m. sharp. Enjoy great music all night long from your favorite NETT DJs, Sir Charles, CJ, Mr. Flavor, Doc International, RJ, and Fluffman.
Tell you you's a big dancer. Come show
Early bird tickets are just $200 after $250. Get your tickets now at Crosby in St. James, Rumba, St. James, Bobby's Bar in Kure, Bats International in Arima, K Square Fashions at C3 Center, West Mall and Eastgate Small, and all NETT DJs. No glass bottles allowed. Bring your coolers, bring your crews, and let's celebrate together. NETT Radio, Halloween, Cooler Crew, Saturday, August the 15th, aboard the Island Royalty. For information, call 638-2609 or 497-7173. Call a week on the scene.
take a step.
All right. Yeah. Well, it seems like we have 3 days programming in one today, because we actually have a third interview for you all coming up pretty soon.
Yes, very, very shortly.
So guess what? We could rock back for the rest of the week. I could take 3 days off then.
Yeah, just before we bring it out, I guess let me just remind people remember we have our Color Week cruise that is on. And of course, tickets are now in the outlet, so you can go and get your tickets for the Color Week cruise. Come and hang out with the team, and it's going to be a fantastic one. Remember, August the 15th, we will be on the Island Royalty. We are boarding at 7. We are sailing at 8 p.m. So you can stock your coolers. Yeah, no glass bottles allowed. All right, no glass bottles.
Where is that boat boarding from, Sir Charles?
That is a little bit down inside the Carnage. What is the exact word? No, let's put it on.
Cruising.
It's a little further down there. I'll go get the exact thing.
Down by the bite. It's further down than.
I can't say because I don't know the area like the back of my hand, so I don't want to, the thing.
Was it by the bite then?
That is where?
The bite.
I know where that is.
A boat down in the back, down in the end, closer to.
Oh well, yeah, I think because last time I went there, they had a whole lot of boats and things, like people just park their boats and things in that area. Yeah,
I think it's a place called the Bite. I think so.
Yeah, but we'll talk about that as we go along for you guys. But just to let you know, the tickets are in store, so go get your tickets, and you can get it at any one of the NETT team, the DJs here, and you can call any one of our numbers and get your ticket, or organize your crew, bring them on board. It's going to be a fantastic ride, right? August the 15th, and yeah, on the inside. All right. So yeah, let's bring our guests inside. We can't keep this guest outside for too long. Mr. Griffith, how are you doing?
Good morning, gentlemen.
Morning, Mr. Griffith. How are you?
Fine, thank you.
Well, let's start off with the most latest of stories that came out. And of course, I don't know if you saw it, but of course, I think they tried to pull the interview. The statement of Joshua Samaru's dad.
Yes.
The alleged statement of Joshua Samaru's dad. I'm not even sure if my co-hosts are aware of it.
I am aware of it. I just wasn't going to bring it up.
But it had to come up.
I don't know if you want to bring that up.
We have to bring it up. If nobody else brings it up, we have to bring it up.
We need to bring it up in terms of saying what he said. And out of obviously from an emotional background, but I don't know how sensitive the TGPS is. You can tell us, former commissioner, how sensitive they would be to a statement like that,
Again, and good morning, gentlemen, and to your many listeners. This is where common sense comes in and flexibility. This individual might very well be arrested this morning for sedition or threatening a police officer in the performance of their duty, and they may be justified in doing that because of the laws that we have. Or what they can do is have a police officer meet with him, explain to him the situation, calm him down. So we realize the concern that you have. We give you the assurance that there will be natural justice. Which one will you choose? Most of the time, this police service will choose the former. They continue to use the letter of the law rather than the spirit of the law. And therein lies the problem. Because this situation in Labor Day, Richard, technically people may not be aware, but the police, I think they were actually, there is justification in arresting her. But before people jump in and feel I am in agreement, totally the opposite. The laws that we have are colonial, outdated laws from the 1930s. So close to the first quarter of the 20th century, we have laws such as loitering. Too young. Richard and Wendell decided to lie on a corner. A police officer realized one all was with his girl. He could arrest you all for loitering. They have public disorder, obscene language. The situation of a police officer fired around close to a man's wife. The man they arrest the man because of obscene language, disturbance of the peace. obstructing a police officer in the performance of his duty. And this one called resisting arrest. This little girl is about 4'10", weighing about 80 pounds, but she resisted arrest with riot squad. Resisting arrest is used as, you're challenged, well, why are you locking him up for? What's the problem? What I do wrong? And that is resisting arrest. So these colonial laws were built in the 1930s or so to suppress the masses, and they have not been changed because no government has been mature enough to understand, as we go into the second quarter of the 21st century, we need to take out these outdated laws because you will have some arrogant police officers that will abuse it. And that is exactly what has happened here. The police looked at the letter of the law rather than understanding the spirit of the law. And by doing that, yes, you will say, well, I am the police, I'm correct in the law. But that is where public trust and confidence will diminish. These are the same officers, gentlemen, that just a few years ago, public trust was almost 60%. Now it's less than 5%, but it's the same 7,500 officers by and large. So it is not the officers, it is the hierarchy that are pushing down some type of attitude towards these police officers in that type of behavior that we are the officers, we have a right. The no protest zone was a similar situation. To state that 10 women and elderly persons unarmed stand up in front of the Ministry of Finance could be seen as a threat to national security. That shows your incompetence to be able to maintain law and order. To state that you need 50 men armed to the teeth in a riot squad to arrest 2 little ladies shows your not understanding of minimum use of force and economy of effort.
But Mr. Griffith, you just said that it's the same set of officers. Mr. Guevara was part of these officers prior to becoming commissioner. He was he stayed out of the public domain all those years he was in special branch. What makes it so different now?
The difference is the leadership, because I was the commissioner. He couldn't have done his type of attitude in my police service based on my type of policing. So there was a perfect example of this that was even worse than the situation with Alicia Phillip, worse than the Labor Day movement. When they had the Black Lives Matters, 500 odd persons turned up at opposite the US Embassy. They broke the law. They didn't get permission from myself. They all could have been arrested. I wasn't stupid. I didn't take the bait. I had the type of maturity and political experience to understand what they were trying to do. I walked in there and I met with all of them. I explained to them, hello, what's happening in the United States will not happen here because almost every police officer in Trinidad and Tobago is none of them are Caucasian. So it wouldn't happen here to what we would have seen with Floyd. So that is how you deal with it. You try to bring down the situation rather than be more aggressive. So in Guevara's, they're this old-time policing, Wendell, that they are like that. They know the letter of the law. But remember, Guevara spent 26 or 27 years behind a desk in special branch in charge of 10 men. Now he's in charge of 7,500 men. He had a budget of $1,000. Now he has a budget of $3 billion. So and the same with Roger Alexander. He was in charge of talking to a talk show host, and now he's in charge of 20,000 persons with a $6 billion budget. It is too much for some of them to understand. You have to know how to balance. You have to read the room. You have to be flexible. Even if you want to play the letter of the law as a police, I want to show what police can do, public trust and confidence would diminish.
But it's a logical extension of the fact that we've had states of emergencies one after the other. And so it has empowered the police to be more and more potentially abusive in terms of the behavior, in terms of how they interface with citizens.
I don't think so. We had a similar situation, Richard, a few years ago. We had public health, the public health orders, and those public health regulations gave the police authority to chase people and so forth. And many occasions, I told the police, be flexible. There's a video that the probably the dumbest minister this country ever had. Good morning, Philip Alexander. How are you going? And he went and started always talking about Gary Griffith. Lock up a set of little black boys. We didn't. 15 boys breaking the law. Police, if you have 3 police,
you make it difficult not to agree with you sometimes, right? But we don't call him dumb now. Don't call him the dumbest minister, right?
If you get no level passes and you want to speak about everything without any knowledge or subject matter because you have no experience, qualification, or training in the topic, I would say dumb. But all right, fair enough. I take it back. I retract, Mr. Speaker. And so going back to what we did, they had to go on the ground because you don't know if somebody had a weapon. When we checked, we realized some were minors. You know what we did? We released them. We could have easily enforced the law and arrested them and scarred them. That is the flexibility that you need to do. You don't go in there high-handed and make decisions that can affect public trust and confidence. So as much as you will say Guevara was there, he was forced to operate to my style, and my style involved in police office. When last have you all seen a police officer assisting in dealing with traffic? They're not even there. They're there now to be on a roadblock to give you a ticket. We started giving people tickets in Movie Chong for adhering to the law. You have to find ways to build public trust and confidence. Coming with riot squad, with unarmed persons, putting no protest zones. And let me add, this is not a government thing. People who are defending this is because they believe people are criticizing the government. The government's action to the police actions are two different things. The police doing what they're doing is not based on a directive by the government. So those people who are blind loyalists of the UNC, who believe that by trying to defend this nonsense, you're defending the government, you're not. Yesterday was Alicia, tomorrow could be you. Let me tell you quickly, gentlemen, if that situation in Labor Day, this had nothing to do with Alicia Phillips not having the approval. She was invited by the same individuals who had the permission. So by and large, why did you arrest Penny? Why didn't you arrest Dave Tanku? They are not members of the trade union movement. The police were thin-skinned because she was challenging the legitimacy and the professionalism of the police service. Had it been another body challenging URP people being fired or whatever, the police would have done nothing. Because the Labor Day is not specifically about dealing with workers' rights. It deals with oppression. It deals with your right, your fundamental rights to freedom, to protest. That is what it was.
You want a voice, a voice. You want your voice because even with the folks who are more lost in the diving incident in the pipe, they went to Labor Day. If I'm not mistaken, either last year or year before, they had a group that marched also to that year. But what's the end game with the TTPS then with this? Because surely they must know that nobody is going to support the action against Alyssa. So why are they doing this?
I'll tell you why. Again, it goes back to the problem where the persons who are in charge of the ministry and the police service were middle management. Gentlemen, if you have somebody who was a clerk 1 and he's applying to be clerk 2, and he didn't come in the top 30, but then they make him the CEO of the company, the organization will say, well, this is madness. Remember, Rivero applied to be senior soup. I don't think he came in the top 20 or 30. His batch went ahead of him, Meister and all of them. So you couldn't do good enough to get promoted from superintendent to senior soup, but then they make you COP. So if you're in middle management, he wouldn't understand. Those old school police, remember all his comments, I will lock you up. They have jail not nice, jail not make the right fig. I have handcuff, they have space in the jail. They're those type of old-time policemen that's all they know about, lock up and jail. They don't understand 21st century policing, the type of things with community policing, predictive policing. That's why they have problems with body cameras, they have problems with tasers, they have problems with minimum use of force. They do not understand. Their style of policing has always been aggressive and arrogant. And that is where I changed my style of the style of policing that caused, listen, gentlemen, it's the same 7,500 officers. Public trust was 59%. Let us not knock the police. But the officers are not it's filtered into them. You have to operate like a leader. An organization is built around the character of those who lead. And that is why you're seeing the difference now.
You know, Scorpion Pepper reminded me of something that happened. I don't like to quote this gentleman at all. I don't read what he has to say, but it came across my timeline over the weekend. And I said, but I was saying that all the time. He ain't saying nothing different to me, that the TTPS caused the downfall of the last government, and they'll probably cause the downfall of this one. And now he is also going down that road that this has to be some deliberate action by the TTPS to embarrass the current government. I don't know if it's deliberate. I just think that's what they do. Well, they did it with the last government and under a different commissioner, and now they're doing it with this commissioner. You understand?
I think Andy Roberts actually said something about that recently. He said, is
he you're talking about? I don't generally like to call his name, but is he you're talking about? He actually said that.
So it had some, because here the comments, gentlemen. They said that they did this to maintain public order. So you lock up a 4'6" girl that weighs 85 pounds to maintain public order. You can't be serious. So it is the height of stupidity. This is not democracy. This is hypocrisy. So you'll see a little girl like that, and you have to lock up with a riot squad to maintain public order. You have to just have 15 no protest zones to maintain public order. Kamala didn't direct them to do this. This was the recommendation by the Commissioner of Police. So when you put 15 no protest zones, you're basically stating, I am so incompetent. I do not have the capability. I do not have the capability to secure an area if people turn up there. Most of those protests are women, elderly persons, everyone unarmed. But if 20 people go outside the Ministry of Finance, that is going to be a threat to national security. You are so incompetent not to secure outside the Ministry of... If the Ministry of Finance, you see people with Molotov cocktails and all, then you immediately deal with it. I had it during, again, the same Black Lives Matter, 150 men walking down Frederick Street with Molotov cocktails, pieces of wood. People may not be aware they were coming to destroy Port of Spain. That is when you have to maintain public order. And I didn't attack them. We dropped some tear gas, diverted them east of Duke Street. Not a gunshot was fired, but Port of Spain was saved. You have to analyze every single situation, do a combat appreciation, and then utilize your resources in an effective and efficient manner. You can't go, and again, there's something in the military known as economy of effort. You do not use a sledgehammer to kill a fly. You have to analyze the situation and utilize the type of personnel to avoid any open confrontation or something that can diminish the perception of the police service being that of a rogue element or abuse of authority. What happened there with a little 4'8" girl that is less than 100 pounds, and you have to take 50 armed men as if they're going into a war zone to try to arrest her? That did not look good in the eyes of the police, and it will always affect the government.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I don't know what is the end game with this. I mean, if it is that they're trying to tell her, hey, do not even set foot in the road again to talk about this Joshua Samaru killing and this Kaya Sealy injury. Do not set foot in. Is that what they're trying to do? Intimidate her so that she says or does nothing again?
Yeah, and
is that the intention? And
they have won. You know, she has now stated that she has dropped tools and they have defeated her. They have deflated her. And what they have done is now turn her now into a martyr, because the people will say, you have now demoralized this young lady. All she was doing was protesting. And let me quickly add, gentlemen, this comment that by some of these people who are very foolish, I am not getting into the Samaru matter. This is before the courts, and the courts will reveal the facts. But to come on people trying to justify the police action based on the fact that those two people were criminals, why would you escape and evade the police? Let me educate those illiterates who continue to say that justifies the ends, justifies the means. For people who do a little bit of homework, look and type something called Rodney King. Rodney King was actually escaped. Pardon?
Yeah, we lost you. Yeah. We lost you for a bit there.
Yeah, that Rodney King situation in 1990s in LA. Guess what? He was escaping from the police. It was a car chase. And what happened when the police intercepted him? They beat him to a frazzle. And the end result, it was the greatest, most dangerous, most deadly civil unrest in the history of the United States, with over 63 people being murdered. You didn't hear one U.S. citizen say, well, he looked for that. He looked to get beat because why he escaping from the police? How could you be so ignorant as a citizen to say, well, because people are fleeing from the police, it gives the police a right for an extrajudicial killing? And I'm not saying that's what happened, but you cannot put the end justify the means. Trinidad and Tobago citizens need to get a little further north of Shakari and a little further east of Miaro. Educate yourself to understand international best practice. For you to be justifying what police did, the police could riddle people if it is that you chased that they were escaping. It happened in the United States, the biggest civil unrest in history. It's almost identical to what happened in the Samaru shooting.
Yeah, but the danger in this case is, of course, a police commissioner who is supported by a minister who is supported by a cabinet. That's the danger here.
Correct, and that is where when you have a middle management minister who does not understand 21st century policing hierarchy, the type of policing from a high level, and they continue to make blunders. I mean, it seems that Roger Alexander and Rivero have a serious problem about systems to measure the performance of police and make them accountable. He's still, up until yesterday, he's still lying about the body cameras. The man said the body cameras weren't good. I keep asking the public, type AXON and GTEC. These are the 1,200 body cameras I got. The majority are used by most police departments in the United States. And the man, for 5 years, you parked it up, lied to the country and say, well, they're not good body cameras. That says it all. So I got 1,200 body cameras in 3 months when I got the funding. And I did that by reducing overtime corruption by $100 million per annum. This minister, this commissioner, bring back that 100 million and add another 100 million. Over time, we had about 300 police officers working 24 hours a day, 30 days a month, getting 80,000 instead of 10,000. And your take on it is increase the public expenditure by 500 million per annum to bring in 2,000 more police officers, even though a few years ago, there was so high visibility throughout the country. And then you take overtime to lift it by $200 million to increase the corruption that takes place. And that is your way of trying to deal with it. When those things happen, it will cause the public to say, this is the government's action, but it is not. It is the police. But the minister is condoning this type of incompetence.
You know what all police officers should be doing right now? Watching World Cup and see that even the referee have on a camera. Even you're showing the view of the referee because they have on a body camera. What a body worn camera?
Well, they don't want it. It's a fight down. How I could get body cameras in 3 months, 1,200, and 5 years, the rest of the commissioners after me can't get one. I had dashboard cameras on the police vehicles. They removed that. I had GPS tracking on all the police vehicles to measure their performance, make sure they could get to a response in 5 minutes. They removed that because certain officers want to use the vehicle to go and pick up their girlfriend. You have more unmarked police vehicles with blue lights flying with sirens all over the place, not going to a distress call, but using it to beat the traffic. We put an end to that because we were monitoring it at an operational command center that was also shut down. So when all of these things take place, to the people who want to hate Gary Griffith, don't hate me, hate the game, hate the fact that things that are being done now, it is affecting public trust in the police service. I wanted to get back to 60%. It's not going to happen with this type of attitude.
Gary, I want to find out something. As you mentioned, you talk about the rapid response vehicles, because I know we had those vehicles that were specially equipped. I think we had like about 90 of them. Each district was supposed to have a certain amount. So if they would be like first responders and that sort of thing.
Emergency response, I think they used to call it.
What has become of those vehicles? Are they still operational within the police service?
No, it's used by police officers now in stations. And again, a station is not a responder to a distress call. That is what I try to educate the country on. So when Keith Rowley was upset about Gary Griffith shutting down police stations, a police station is not a... When you all go to New York, how many police stations you see? When you go to London, how many police stations you see? It's a banana republic concept. Politicians love to build police stations, however, because you could build a $40 million police station that really costs $10 million, and then you and the contractor cut up the profit. That's why the police stations love to be built.
Behave yourself.
But I'm telling you, when I was a commissioner, I see a police station left and right, and I don't need it. We have a Roxborough police station that can hold more police officers than how many officers in the whole of Tobago. It didn't make sense, but the bigger the station, the bigger the cut. There's no need. What you have is police officers are supposed to come to your home. It's a delivery service. You shut down a gender-based violence unit that was instrumental to deal with domestic violence, child abuse, elderly abuse. You shut it down. They shut down the community comfort patrol, the rapid response unit, the emergency response patrol, the highway patrol, the social media monitoring unit, GPS tracking on vehicles, the dashboard cameras. Guerrero ran, McDonald Jacob shut down every single thing that caused public trust to be 59%. But the same Jacob now comes with a grid model thing. But you shut down the emergency response patrol, which was the grid model. These vehicles, Sir Charles, again, they were all GPS tracked. You had 10 vehicles in each of the 9 divisions in Trinidad and then Tobago. So it meant that put 10 police vehicles 24 hours a day patrolling Diego Martin, Petit Valley, Cocorite, and Caranage. It meant that when you made a 999 call, you'll get a response in 5 minutes. No, you don't. You call 999, they put you on hold. You have to call a station. Then when you call the station, they say they don't have a vehicle to respond. A police station is not a response to a distress call. That's why we formed the highway patrol. That's why we formed the emergency response patrol. That's why we formed the rapid response unit. That's why we formed the special operational response team. You shut down and dismantle all of that, and then want to know why the public doesn't like you.
Do you expect that the current commissioner of police will get a good performance appraisal from the Police Service Commission?
Yeah, definitely, because I've heard that one of the senior members of the Police Service Commission was his batch. And that person should recuse himself. It can't be perceived that you are close a relation to the individual and you're staying there. Gentlemen, ask any of you, tell me who's the chairman of the Police Service Commission. You might even know. You might not even know. It is that they are that incompetent. Everybody knew Gomes. Everybody knew Judith Jones. Everybody knew Blessy Prasad. The Police Service Commission has a right to educate, update, inform, and advise the public and to calm them down on any matter of concern. We have a country that is under a 3-point crime plan. State of emergency, and state of emergency. It's the only anti-crime plan for the year. Not one crime plan that this commissioner or the minister has put out, and not a word from the Police Service Commission on it. We have a situation with Samaru where the country is upset. Not a word from the Police Service Commission. We have body cameras that were utilized, 1,200 that was mandatory under a standard operational procedure. You must use it for patrols, roadblocks, warrants, or operations. You shut it down, and you have not said anything about it. So the Police Service Commission has been totally irrelevant and incompetent. They have not said a word. They have not done anything. And they know why. Silence is justification of they are comfortable with what Guevara is doing. But if you have an individual who is close to Guevara, and let me quickly add, gentlemen, what has caused the problem with this is the selection of the Commissioner of Police. When I was selected and Dwayne Gibbs, it was an international team of experts. When I was interviewed, it was by individuals who selected 23 commissioners around the world. So when I got my 82% and Ula Christopher couldn't even come in the top 20 with 54%, it was based on experts. They changed the law to have the Police Service Commission select. So the Police Service Commission has no one with any training, knowledge, qualification, or experience in law enforcement. None at a high level. And they will now have 50% of the interview. So you can excel in everything. The information I got is that my star was ahead of everybody. But then when you come to the last 50%, all right, oh, boss, what was that, sir? You want me to put Ula Christopher? Okay. And Ula Christopher then gets 49 out of 50. I'm just giving an example. So it is subjective. So the selection of the Commissioner of Police has nothing to do with competence and analyzing. Like with us, you will have 8 different modules. It's mock media conference, it's psychological testing to select. No, it's subjective. It's who they want. And
it went right back to political.
Why was it changing? Why was it changed?
Because of Keith Rowley, the PNM government decided, let us change it so that take away the foreigners, let us take away the experts. And then what happens, gentlemen? People say the PSC, the Police Service Commission, is independent, but the Prime Minister handpicks the President, who handpicks the Police Service Commission. So don't come independent with me.
It's all connected. It's all connected. And Parliament ultimately, by the majority, who would go on the word of the Prime Minister, eventually vets the Commission of Police. So it's kind of all in the same callaloo, and you're swimming from one side of the callaloo to the next and saying, yeah, everybody independent, but you're not, because everybody's in the same callaloo.
Correct.
So, so it's kind of farcical in a way. When you look at it, it's like, what? But
does the PSC have a tenure? Do they have a how long are they in office normally for?
I think it's about 3 years. And but again, the individual, the chairman, has never before have we ever. Everybody knew Professor Ramesh Dusaran. Everybody knew the chairman of the Commissioner of Police. A year now, nobody knows who's the chairman. And I can tell you, it's a man called Wallace. So let me tell you,
and it's a man called Wendell.
Yes. But this man has not said a word in 14 months as he should be removed. You can see the man doesn't have a clue. But you have selected him, and there's not the country is so concerned about the attitude of the police, the performance of the police, the public trust and confidence so low. And you as the Police Service Commission have not said a word. I go back, gentlemen. We attacked Rivero, we attacked Ula Christopher. They did not impose themselves on us. They applied. It was their right to apply. If it is that you applied and somebody put you as number 1, well, so be it. But as I said, when you are the experts, Ula couldn't come in the top 20. She got 54% to others, like Stephen Williams and myself, getting over 80%. How somebody like that could come number 1? So when she was imposed on us, you're attacking poor Ula. She never had it in her. And it's the same thing we're seeing here with Guevara. And I'm hoping that he will build himself, but he seems to use this type of aggression and this aggressive type of policing in the 21st century. As we go into the second quarter, it is not going to work. It is going to cause persons to turn away. People like my style of being aggressive to criminals, but they were appreciative of the fact that I would be able to get involved in community policing, having the Commissioner's Cup, having systems of I support our service, building public trust and confidence, being accessible to the media. That is what is required. The arrogant tone of locking up a little girl, just making statements to say that you all don't know what happened in the shooting or what happened before. It shows your ignorance as a commissioner. What happened before is irrelevant. So all of these things show that there is a concern and nothing. Don't be surprised if Police Service Commission will give this man a high grade. Don't be surprised.
Well, he's already gotten that high grade from the minister. He's already gotten commendation from the minister, the line minister.
Yeah, but oh God, the line minister, that alone is by itself. He had the same qualification as Guevara, the both of them were junior middle management. And again, that's one of the concerns. To apply, you need 15 years senior experience at a high level in law enforcement. to my knowledge, Quiver didn't have that. You can't be a superintendent and say that's 15 years high level. You could be a commissioned officer in the defense force when you're in command of 100 men. You could be an ACP or a deputy commissioner of police. But as somebody as a superintendent apply, how is that 15 years experience at a high level? It is not. But again, somebody knew who they wanted and they've decided to do what they had to do. And if that is the case, fine. I want this man to succeed. But when it is you're blocking people on WhatsApp, you're blocking the media, you have this situation that has taken place now with this matter of Labor Day. You have the Labor Day, you have the unions now looking to get a senior counsel to challenge. You invited the young lady. The young lady turned up. If it is that you figured she was saying something that was not in keeping and you tell her stop, okay, and she stopped, and then you still arrest her and then charge her for resisting arrest, these things cannot help. And I plead with the UNC, or born at UNC and I go there at UNC. This is not an attack on the government. So you blindly trying to defend this because you feel it making the government look bad. It is the police making the government look bad, not the citizens who are concerned by what the police did.
Absolutely.
Gary, I wonder if just before we go, there was supposed to be a march of peace a little while ago that got shut down. And now I don't know if proper permissions were sought. And but I felt that what was taking place, and this is just me as a citizen looking on, right? I don't know if there were any other things in between there that may have made the police reacted in the way that they did. But I felt it was a good opportunity for the police to work along with the community to show a different side. And even if the march was to proceed, even up to a particular point, it would have helped rather than hurt in shutting it down that way. Do you have a thought on that?
Yeah, definitely. You've got that is where when you select somebody as commissioner, you have to have that maturity of that element of flexibility, reading the room, understanding the situation. David Abdul and I will clash constantly as commissioner. I say, David, you're going down the wrong road. Why is it you're having this protest? So yeah, but commissioner, this and I will talk and I will agree to it. I will never once decide to say, well, I ain't doing that because I don't like you or you don't like the UNC or the PNM. That's irrelevant. Same thing as I mentioned. Remember the Black Lives Matter opposite the Savannah. There were 500 persons, and they were all in protest over what happened with George Floyd. But if you want to play hardball and look at the letter of the law, I could have done that. This is where the commissioner of police has to be flexible. You look at a situation in the Port of Spain, a man arguing with a senior officer. He's arguing and he's walking away, and the officer, you can see fuming, and he said, "You see that? Take him." When you do that, that shows that the most dangerous thing I always say is to give an ignorant person authority. You have to be balanced and measured in what you do. That is why I was very, very careful in giving persons firearms, and that's why all the 4,000 firearms I issued, not one was lost, stolen, or used for a crime during my 3 year in office. The other commissioners gave out 100, and we'll have 3 and 4 incidents that take place. When you give a police officer authority, you need to make sure he is controlled. That's why I did the 482, Gary. Anybody misbehave, call me, and I will have 10 and 12 officers lined up every morning. Why it is that you went and was asking the girl for her phone number in the roadblock? Why it is that you were cursing and abusing the person? Why you point finger at the little child? So every officer realizes, you see me, I ain't going to do no stupidness because I have to go and see Gary in the morning. Those are the type of things that cause every public to start saying, yeah, the police are like this style now. No, people are trying to avoid the police because of their arrogant tone, because there are no checks and balances. There's no support. The PC has been totally sidelined by the police service. There's no support that they get. All of these things will cause the officer on the ground to feel I can say what I want, do what I want. I have a relative, a gun was pointed at his head in Las Cuevas Beach, pointed at his head. We have 3 witnesses, and 2 years later, it's still under investigation. It's a cover-up, but that is how they operate. When these things happen and the word spreads, how you expect the police to be supported? My job is to find a way to educate Rivera and the others. You're going down the wrong road, people. Try to understand you are here as a servant to citizens. Yes, you could be aggressive and bad for the criminals. That's my one shot, one kill. We do it to you before you do it to us. But in the same manner, each and every citizen is an employer to the employees. We as police officers would have been servants to citizens. Treat them with respect. You treat them with respect, it will be reciprocal.
Yeah.
That's a good point at which we could close off the interview. So thank you so much, Gary Griffith, for joining us this morning.
Yeah. Thank you, Gary.
Always interesting.
And remember, it's coming home. England, this is England's year. We have it. This World Cup is ours.
You'll be a frustrated. The English Prime Minister and all just run out of the job.
And this it's coming home. Whole process, and now you end on a delusional note.
If England is going to World Cup, are joining the PNM, the UNC, and NJAC. Remember afterwards.
Thank you very much, guys.
Yeah, right, brother. Thanks. Take care. Even the English Prime Minister want nothing to do with England again.
Well, which one? Because you have one outgoing and one coming in.
Yeah.
England is in a mess since Brexit. And so, and nobody seems to be able to get that English economy on the right path. And it's become more and more, isolationist in a kind of way, xenophobic. And not because they instituted visa requirements for Trinidad and Tobago and St. Lucia and other countries since they're in power, which is dumb and stupid. After all that, countries would have contributed to your success post 1962, you still have the gall to tell us, oh, people claiming too much asylum. Yeah. Give me a break, England. Give me a break.
One of my connections to England just show up in Trinidad last few days. He just here for 4 days. He just showed up, totally surprised me.
Who's this? Oh,
Kavun.
Oh, Kavun, yeah.
Yeah, he just showed up.
English economy is in a mess, isn't it? Isn't the English economy in a mess?
Who?
The English economy, isn't it in a mess?
I don't know.
I think that's why Keir Starmer has resigned. He resigned this morning. Well, he's resigned. He will be resigned. Well, he's resigned.
Yes, resigned.
A week. Yeah, whatever.
Yeah.
In terms of the replacement.
Yeah.
I will never keep criticizing them for putting that visa requirement in Trinidad and Tobago. Nonsensical and upsetting.
And a year later, we can't hear anything from our Minister of Foreign Affairs.
Well, they do talk about it to be fair, they do talk about it every now and then and say that, they are in continuing negotiations or something like that. They're not completely silent about it. To be fair to the Sean Sobers group. So if every now and then you do hear stuff about it, Of course, but of course some people would have called for visas to be instituted against English people to come into Trinidad as a reciprocal thing, but small island states feel a little bit incapacitated to do stuff like that.
Mountain tops, you mean?
Small island states.
Guys, we had a full day today.
Yeah, and we didn't take one phone call. Boy,
so you could probably take some now at this point. But before you do, there's a boat cruise coming up on the 15th of August. Am I right on the dates, Charles?
Yes, you are, sir.
Oh my God, I'm right. 15th of August. And of course, it's the NETT Breakfast, first annual, the NETT Breakfast now, the NETT Radio, I feel you should say the NETT Media Network, first annual boat ride. It's taking place on the 15th of August, and tickets are available now at K Squared Fashions in Eastgate, West Mall, and C3 Center. So you should get your tickets. Get your tickets now. Stop deliberating. So on the 15th of August. So get your tickets and be ready to go on that cruise. So don't miss out on that cruise, people. All right, that boat ride. So 15th of August, let that be, permanently inscribed on your brain that I have something to do on the 15th of August. And of course, you have something to do this weekend because Scandal in Cedrus is at Queen's Hall. The countdown has begun to the Queen's Hall shows. This is our first time at Queen's Hall with display. And of course, it's probably going to be our final 2 shows in Port of Spain for Scandal in Cedrus. If you haven't seen it, or if you want to see it again, you should see it this weekend at Queen's Hall, Saturday at 8:30, Sunday at 6:30. Of course, tickets available at the Queen's Hall box office from 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. daily. And tickets also available at K Squared Fashions, West Mall, Eastgate, and Brentwood Mall in Chagonas, as well as at Jubilee Railway in Tulapuna, Electronics in Arima, Sharpley Auto Services in Sharpley, and Antoni's Florals in Valpark Shopping Plaza. And you can also purchase tickets online, which so many of you have been doing, at rsrrproductions.com. That's rsrrproductions.com. Our brand new website. You can purchase tickets there. And yes, you can use your debit card. You don't have to have a credit card. You can use your regular debit card to purchase tickets there through our Republic Bank First Atlantic Commerce portal. Of course, if you want to use your credit card, you can use that too. So you should not miss Scandal in Cedros. We're looking forward to this weekend at Queen's Hall. And of course, next weekend, we'll be at Napa River Bowl in San Fernando, and tickets are already selling also on the website and also at K Squared Fashion, C3 Center, and Fens of Marabella by the Roundabout, and K Squared's Fashions in Brentwood, Mochagonas for the Napa River Bowl shows on the 4th and 5th of July. So looking forward to, it seems like our final weekends in Port of Spain and in South, one after the next. So looking forward to having a great weekend this weekend at Queen's Hall. Do not miss it. It's a great distressor, and God knows you need to be distressed.
Hey, telling me. Anyway, folks have an absolute... You got any calls, Sir Charles?
Actually, I got one and lost it.
All right.
Yeah.
So have an absolutely wonderful day, people. Remember to let go and let God.
Yep, and netradiott.com continues on the web, so you can continue to listen to the excellent programming throughout the day. And of course, you can also listen on your smart devices at NETT Radio Trinidad on TuneIn. So that's where you can also listen to the programming. Thank you for joining us this morning. We know you have a choice, and we're glad that you chose us because you have impeccable taste. Join us tomorrow bright and early from 6 a.m. tomorrow morning, which will be Tuesday. Have a fantastic day. Remember to smile and laugh. It's great for your health. You have been listening and watching
The Breakfast Show.
That's it.
The Breakfast Show.
Get up, get up. It's the time to start the day. The Breakfast Show is here. We bring in the soca way.
Yeah, 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 yeah. Yeah, 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 yeah. Wake up, it's a brand new dawn. The Breakfast Show got the vibes